Hello, fellow snows, hoes, ugly blokes, and millennial jokes, and welcome to the Bastards of Gaming Podcast, Episode 2. I'm your host with the most, Xizor, joined by my co-host, the maple syrup to my French toast, the Father and the Son to my Holy Ghost, SynthR.
You know what? Our intro music is fucking lit. And the only thing it's missing is ska trumpets.
I do like it. I thought it was pretty happening. I like my metal shit. Gets people to understand immediately our vibe. Like, yeah, fucking raw. That's who we are.
Yeah, just
fucking
stomping things.
Yeah, it's fucking smashing guitars and fucking kicking over drum sets. That's what we're about.
90s, hell yeah.
Yeah!
Yeah!
All right, so last week's episode, we've already had some good feedback on that. We've had hundreds of people checking it out, people joining the Facebook group, people messaging us about how they didn't know who we were. They'd never heard about us. And, I was just telling people, like, we're basically gaming's best kept secret. I mean, we're sitting back right now. We've been sitting back in the shadows for a while, just letting all these other, cats have their time in the spotlight. You got people like Ninja on Twitch and Dr. Disrespect. You got your PewDiePies. They're out there. They're doing their thing now, but it's our time now. It's time to come onto the scene and show people what real gamers are all about. People with experience, people with passion, people that know what the fuck they're talking about. Basically, and so. All the feedback I've been seeing online has been pretty positive. I mean, people are coming out here and they've checked out my Xbox Live gamer tag and they're like, "Holy shit, this guy's gamer score is insane! Like he's the shit. These guys are legit." So, what kind of other stuff have you been hearing?
Yeah, so like my instant messenger was just blowing up, like mad. People are like, "Holy shit! Like you guys finally are doing it," and it's been a blast to listen to you guys talk because we've gamed together and stuff over the years, and you guys are really fun, and we have a great time together when we all game and stuff. So it's great that you guys are putting out a podcast that I can listen to, like when I'm working out or commuting or doing whatever it is I do during the day. So yeah, a lot of positive feedback.
Yeah, I mean that's what I was hearing too. Is people were like. It sucks that I only get to hear your voice and listen to your intelligent thoughts on video games when we're, in Discord or in a Xbox Live party chat. It's nice to be able to have you on the go to hear your beautiful voices in our ears when I'm working out or, I'm in a long car ride home from work. So that seems to be the general consensus we've gotten from people is that they're glad we're doing this and it's made their life better.
Well, it's made my life better.
Okay, so the first news story we're going to talk about today, we're not going to do too much news this week. There's just not a lot that we really found that was that fascinating. I mean, there's a whole Activision Blizzard thing happening, but that's not really that, it's not something we can really talk about in depth or we really care about. I mean, people get laid off at companies here and there. It's not, this happens, there's ebbs and flows, stocks, fall and rise. So we're really just going to talk about some news about the Red Dead Online. So there was the the conference call thing, the investors call or whatever, the quarterly stuff that they do with these companies, and it came out that there wouldn't be any major content drops in Red Dead Online until probably June or July? Do you remember? July. So looks like we won't be getting any new content. However, the new update for Red Dead Online is going to drop. The 26th, I believe. So in a couple weeks. And this is the one that's going to sort of tweak some of the online features and stuff like that. So I'm just going to read a couple of these paragraphs and sentences here from the actual Rockstar website about what they're going to be doing to make changes to the game. Firstly, they're reducing the visibility of blips over long distances. Your map position won't display to other players unless you are nearby within 150 meters. And if you are slightly further away, you will only appear when firing your weapons. Players in other towns or regions, for example, won't be able to see you. This prevents players from being repeatedly targeted across the map at long distances.
I'm good with that.
And then, yeah, that's fine. Yeah, I mean, I don't think that will change a whole lot. I don't know. I don't have too many experiences with people stalking me across the whole map. Usually, you have a skirmish with another posse or another group, and then it eventually dies out, and everyone goes about their way. So I don't. I think the maybe displaying. If you see somebody close by, your posse might be more likely to chase after them. I don't know. Like how much sort of difference do you think this will make in just the kind of moment to moment gameplay?
Well, it's not just the whether or not you're going to be on the map. They're actually adding like colors to the blips too. So if you're blue, you're less likely to be aggressive, and the darker red you are means like you're going on a killing spree. So they're adding that, and you can also parlay with the whole posse now instead of the person that's repeatedly killed you. So you can opt out of being killed repeatedly, basically. And I think that's totally fine if you're playing by yourself online, because I've logged on and you guys weren't on there yet, and I was getting like stomped, and there's nothing I can do. And we've done it to other people too. You know what I mean? And it's fun for like a little bit, and then it gets boring. But I think it's going to continue no matter what with the griefing. But I think these measures do go. It's taking it in the right direction, I think.
Yeah. So I was about to jump into some of that stuff. So they said they're introducing a new system that highlights over the aggressive players. If your style of play becomes more hostile, your map position and the position of your posse members will become more visible to other players with a progressively darkening dot that incrementally shifts from blue to dark red. Your visibility increases through bad deeds such as attacking and killing other players or their horses outside of a structured mode, free roam mission, event, or competition. And the shorter the time between bad acts, the more your visibility increases. Shift back to more righteous path, and your visibility will fade over time. And then, like you were saying about the whole posse thing, I think that's really great. So, like, until now, you could only parlay with individual people, and your whole posse couldn't parlay. So, I do like that. If you're tired of just fighting with another crew and you just want to be like, all right, look, we had fun, let's go our separate ways. I think it's just a very quick way to do it, because it says you'll be able to initiate parlay that applies to your attacker's entire posse after just a single kill. Because sometimes it seemed very inconsistent before about when the parlay thing would come up, and if you missed it the first time and you actually just accidentally just hit respawn, you would just come back in and you might have to get killed 2 or 3 more times before you could parlay again. So this seems like it's going to alleviate that.
Well, I don't know. Why won't they just add like the thing in GTA 5 where you just opt out completely if you just want to go fishing and be left alone?
I mean, I think as a griefer at heart, I really don't, because that just means that everyone's probably going to do that. You know what I mean? And then you really not like it should be a thing like let everyone just kind of, sit there and be able to play. And if someone comes at you and you don't want to deal with that, because there are definitely times when I don't want to deal with it or I'm not in the mood for that, and you can just quickly parlay. So I don't know. I kind of like this system because I feel like if you do it the other way, then everyone's just going to probably opt into that. You know what I mean? I don't know.
Well, it favors the griefers.
Yeah, well, it definitely does. But like, if you can parlay with someone or an entire posse after just getting killed one time, then that shuts it down immediately. You know what I mean?
It's probably still 3 or 4 times or whatever it is. But
well, it says if you can apply that to your attacker's entire posse after just a single kill.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I think that's the differentiator that really makes sense. And then let's see what else here. Yeah, so the quickly turning a dispute into a timed mini deathmatch for rival players to fight out amongst themselves in free roam, earning points for each kill on the opposing player. So it seems like you'll be able to initiate the feud or the parlay very quickly, and I like this. And then this is the part I'm going to be curious to see how this works, where it's talking about the bounty hunters and law balancing. It says at the same time, players who have racked up high bounties will have a chance to be to be beset by NPC bounty hunters who will attempt to kill them and collect their reward. Criminal behavior will have bounty values and honor consequences that scale based on the severity of the crime. For example, killing another player can incur a higher bounty, while assaulting townsfolk or animal cruelty could give you a lesser bounty if the crime is reported, while lower level crimes like looting, and ransacking will only decrease your honor. If your bounty exceeds a certain threshold and bounty hunters take notice, you will be wanted dead or alerted to their pursuit. The higher your bounty, the greater your value, and the more difficult your pursuit the pursuit becomes for you and your posse. What I think is interesting about this is I think that this will be kind of fun when we do the weird random things that we do, where we kind of go off into a bar in a pub somewhere and just start
murder
like
everybody
going crazy and murdering everyone. And then that's going to bring in more people, hopefully, like more NPC bounty hunters that'll come at us, and then like other players might even be tempted to get into the mix. Like, what do you think about this?
It could create more chaos, but it could. I don't know. I feel like with any Rockstar game, there's going to be tons of glitches and stuff because we already see it when we cause chaos in like Saint Denis or something like that, with like people teleporting into the room, not even using the door, coming through the wall, like stuff like that. You know what I mean? So if there's going to be more people or more NPCs coming at us, I'm fine with it. I love the chaos, but I can just picture it like crashing or something happening.
Yeah, well, that's part of the fun is how the game just fucking breaks down when we just do stupid shit like that. So I'm all about just absolute chaos and the game completely breaking down. So the next thing is like the daily challenges, which I think is kind of interesting. It says we'll be adding a variety of daily challenges to take on across the Red Dead Online beta. Complete individual objectives that cover every aspect of life on the frontier to earn gold nuggets and XP. Challenges will range from foraging for herbs, selling items at a fence, hunting and skinning animals, clearing hideouts, winning feuds, and so much more. These daily challenges will continue to expand and evolve over time, bringing specialty challenges and rewards, streak bonuses, and more. So what do you think about this daily challenges thing?
It's just more stuff to do. I kind of equate it to like the way the strangers are now, where they're just kind of giving you missions to go do. They're not overly exciting. They're not overly difficult, and they have horrible payouts. So I don't feel like daily challenges are enough for me to want to play every day. Like they're there. If they're there, it's fine.
Yeah, I don't think I'll be logging in, but I do feel like this sort of like reinforces how we already play the game, where we kind of just we're kind of like we kind of mix and match what we do every time we play. Where it's like we might go hunting for a little bit, and then we go fishing, and then we do a couple races, and then we do a couple death matches, and then you know what I'm saying. So I feel like it kind of already plays into the way we play, where we have this sort of roaming, changing, things that we already do throughout the night, just to sort of mix it up and keep it fresh.
Yeah, like we go shoot some muskies off the mountaintop in the water, or we go like fist fight a cougar.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Yeah, exactly. So other fixes, some of these are kind of interesting to me. It says, in addition to these updates, we are planning to address several additional changes based on community feedback received thus far. Select weapons will be rebalanced, including the varmint rifle, which will have its accuracy brought more in line with other long arm weapons. Like, what the fuck is this? Did you read this part about the varmint rifle?
Yeah, but we already knew about the varmint rifle being OP.
But
everybody used it.
But okay, so maybe I'm just misunderstanding here. Which will have its accuracy brought more in line with other long arm weapons? Like, what does that mean to you?
From what I read,
they're going to buff it.
No,
what?
From what I read, I didn't read the Rockstar one, but from what I read, it sounds like they're going to kill the range on it.
Okay, because to me, that made it sound like they're going to make it more powerful, which would seem crazy. Okay, so it says, reading from the Rockstar thing, is select weapons will be rebalanced, including the varmint rifle, which will have its accuracy brought more in line with other long arm weapons. So I don't know what he means by. I'm taking that to mean like double-handed weapons, like other things like the carbine repeater and
because I think the varmint
action rifle.
I think the varmint rifle has a super high accuracy range, so they have to bring it down. I think that's what they mean. That's why everyone uses the varmint rifle, because you just need to get a headshot.
Yeah, well, people also use it because it has you can pump out shots faster than most of the other rifles.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping they really reduce the range on it. But what it makes, when I read that, the first thing I thought is that they're rebalancing to make it more powerful, which doesn't make sense. But I don't think they would be doing that. No, but like I said, that sentence was confusing to me.
Yeah, I think they mean like bring it down to the other guns, because the other guns have crap range, but the varmint rifle has a higher range, lower damage.
Yeah. Okay. Maybe you're right on that. And then it says voice chat will be reduced to work at closer proximity, which I think is interesting. So I kind of would, I kind of, in some ways, wouldn't mind
It
getting
would
out
be
of party
funny.
chat and playing with other people
Yeah.
if we could like and not hearing everyone in the server if we were only hearing people close to us. Like I think that's a really interesting wrinkle to add to this.
People getting infuriated. I think it'd actually be really funny. This is when we could do like character stuff in the game. Like we would just start talking like hillbillies when people come around us. You know what I mean? Just like
Yes, yes,
put on a
yeah,
show for these people that are like coming at
exactly,
us.
exactly, exactly. Yeah, so I'm already, like I said, I'm already thinking about stuff like that too, where I'm like, this could add to the fun of us like griefing and being stupid in the game. So I'm all about that because like just hearing everyone in the server at any given time is like that's a no. Like
No.
that doesn't work. You know what I mean? And plus,
Yeah.
sometimes you don't want everyone to hear you either. You know what I mean? So
I don't need to hear people
uh,
arguing with their wife or like the dog barking or like the football game.
yeah, exactly. And then it says, while fixes to horse cargo are numerous and ongoing, we plan to introduce some improvements to making pelts and carcasses more persistent after death or respawning, which is interesting. I wonder exactly what they plan on doing with that.
Mhm.
Because it's kind of the thing where if you have a pelt, if you have pelts on you, or you have a carcass on your horse, and you start a mission or something like that, it disappears. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I don't know what they intend to do with this, but I guess we'll have to see. But that seems to be pretty much it, other than they're having some extra XP during the February 26th that weekend, or I guess that week or whatever.
Mhm. I'm
Like playing in a
disappointed.
posse will have benefits. So you're disappointed in this whole thing?
Yeah, like I'm fine with the majority of it. I'm just disappointed that there's no mention of auto aim because I've complained
Yeah, I
about
mean
this
that.
so many times.
Yeah, that was going to be the next thing I brought up. Actually, is it like these are a lot of interesting changes, and I think they will make the game better. But I mean, I just can't stand this auto aim like headshot
Yeah,
bullshit that's going
yeah,
on in this game. It just completely ruins the experience. It takes away this extra layer of depth that the game should have. And it's like I said before, they had options for non auto aim servers all the way back in GTA 4.
yeah.
Like I don't understand why they haven't. I mean, it was in Red Dead 1, it was in Grand Theft Auto 5 as far as I remember. So I don't know why this hasn't been addressed. I don't know why the game launched with this not being a feature.
Yeah, exactly.
Much
I don't know
less the
either.
fact that no one's even talked about it. I mean,
No.
have we just gotten to a point where these young kids just accept that? Like I don't know. I mean, I didn't play GTA Online, in the past few years when it really took off. So I don't know if that's like a thing. Just like maybe everyone plays that way in these Rockstar games. I don't know, but for me, that's a huge turnoff.
Yeah, it's so there's two things. One, it's not fun, first of all, to just like get headshot by somebody out of nowhere because you're just getting headshot every single time. And it's not fun to just like snap to a person when you hold in the reticle and it hits them already and you shoot them. Like there's no skill involved. But the second thing is we're in the wild fucking west. These guns are inaccurate. These people probably aren't accurate. They're not snipers. You know what I mean? Like, and you're getting a headshot every single time you shoot somebody. I want like a shootout. I want a freaking shootout where bullets are just whizzing by your head and going into the wood wall behind you. You know what I mean? Just like shit flying everywhere, like it's GI Joe. That's what I
Yeah,
want.
no, yeah, no. I mean, you bring up a good point there. I mean, I didn't. Yeah, I didn't think about that in terms of like, because that's how the single player makes you feel, where you get into
Yeah,
these like really crazy like Wild West shootouts, and the online multiplayer is like everyone's fucking no scope 420 bro with their fucking headshot from across the goddamn map, and it's just like
yeah.
this is so fucking dumb.
With their six
Yeah,
shooter
it's
on a
so dumb.
horse. They're on a
And it's
horse.
like yeah, it's like the battles are over in a second.
Yeah,
It's just who
yeah,
can get that headshot the fastest.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, no, that's a good point. I mean, like I said, I was unhappy with it from a fundamental standpoint, but what you said makes sense too, because like I said, the single player gives me that feeling, and the multiplayer definitely does not.
Yeah, like I'm not gonna say like, oh, it's a period piece and it needs to be accurate. It's more of I want that chaos and randomness in the game where there's like panic. You're like trying to shoot somebody. You're like, damn it, I'm not hitting them because I suck and my gun sucks, and then you finally get a hit and you're like, yeah, fuck that guy. Fuck Wyatt Earp. He's down. You know what I mean? Like, that's what
Yeah.
I want. I want that sort of thing.
Yeah, yeah. No, I'm with you on that. All right. So anything else you want to add about this Rockstar news?
No. Fix auto aim, please.
Yeah, exactly. Fix the fucking auto aim. All right, we're going to move into our section here talking about our most anticipated games of 2019. So me and SynthR have compiled a list of a few games that we're looking forward to. We're going to count them down, maybe mention some honorable mentions here. So I'm going to throw it to you first and see what's your number 5 most anticipated game for 2019.
Okay, so it hasn't been announced when it's coming out. I hope it's this year, but I'm looking forward to Death Stranding. That's my number 5. That's my type of game. I like really weird concepts. Like, you don't know what's going on. It's strange. You're interested in it. It's kind of like the TV show Lost, where you're like, what the hell is going on? This is weird. Like Alan Wake,
Yeah.
that sort of thing. Like, where it's not horror, but it's kind of horror. There's some adventure. There's some exploring. You're just interested to see like what the hell is happening here. This is
Yeah, well,
weird.
it kind of seems more like a psychological thriller in a way
Yeah,
too.
yeah. I love that
But yeah,
stuff.
no, I'm definitely looking forward to this game. Also, I'm like, yeah, it's like you said, but I don't even think we know what this game is. Like, I don't like at the last time we saw it at E3, it was basically you just saw what's his name? What's the actor's name?
Oh, Redis.
Norman Reedus. Norman
Redis,
Reedus.
yeah,
Sorry,
that's it.
I had a blank for a second. And Norman Reedus is kind of walking around and doing a bunch of. He was just kind of walking, and it made it seem like it was a walking simulator. So we don't even know what this game is.
I know a
Like
little
what
bit
I'm.
about it, actually.
Yeah. So what do you know about it?
So what it seems like is, so the main character is part of like I've described it as like a postal service where they have to deliver these packages, and the packages seem to be these babies that live in this like jar. So you see in one of the trailers, you'll see like a baby type thing in a jar or whatever. And from what I can tell, outside there's some sort of like shadowy mist stuff that's trying to kill people, whatever. But the contraption that you're wearing that has that arm on it that kind of like flicks light or whatever, I think that's powered by the baby and the like baby juice jar that they're in. I don't know. It's hard to make the connection, but there's something there so that when they go out to face this like shadow stuff, it's powered. They use the power of this baby thing.
Yeah.
That's
Well,
what
my
I'm
theory.
guessing.
Yeah, my theory initially was that this has something to do with life and death, like the fact
Probably.
that you're seeing something in a shadow realm or maybe an afterlife type realm, and
Yeah.
then the babies represent like life and birth and
Yeah, it
stuff
could
like
be.
that.
Yeah, it could
Light,
be.
I don't know, but yeah, I mean that's pretty much what I've gathered and the information I know as well. But yeah, I mean, I was more talking about like mechanically what you're doing in the game. Like I don't know, I mean,
Oh
you see
yeah.
him pull out a gun at one point, and so you're like, well, I mean, the games that Kojima has made in the past, which are these really, mechanically rich, stealth action games. So you have to wonder if he's going to continue on with that sort of like vibe with this game, or if he's going to do something more artsy. You know what I mean?
Mm. Yeah.
Because
Well.
I've read, I've heard people online that have actually, because most people assume that it's not really even playable because he kind of came on with Sony and started making this game not too long ago, even though it kind of seems that way because of all the footage and stuff that's out there. It's a lot of cutscene stuff but no one has really described what the game is, but people have played it, so it's in a playable state. So yeah, I mean, some people are saying that there might be a quick turnaround, and this is not going to be some 5-6 year development cycle on this game. Because you have to wonder as we're getting close to the next gen consoles, is this, I mean, I assume this is going to be something that launches on the PS4, but, and everything that I've kind of gathered and this is not based on any facts, this is just the basic gist of things that I've been able to take away from what people have said that have played it, is that, like, it might be coming sooner than you think. So it could be coming this year.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens. Kojima does interesting things with his games, right? It's like Metal Gear has all these like weird psychological, paranormal stuff going on, and it's always interesting to me. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah. So my number five is Days Gone. Um, yeah, this game has been in development for a very long time. It's a first party Sony game, so it's going to be on the PlayStation 4. It's a zombie game. It's just like these brothers or friends or whatever that were in this motorcycle gang, and zombie outbreak happens. You're riding around on a motorcycle. In some ways, it seems sort of like a World War Z, where it's like these kind of crazy, fast moving zombies versus the normal zombies that you get. But I've liked pretty much, I think, almost every first party Sony game this entire generation.
Hmm.
And so I look at this as like it has to be good. Like it's probably going to be good, even though Sony basically does like all these third person open world sort of actiony games. That's kind of their shtick. But I mean, they've yet to not deliver on that. I mean, God of War was great, Spider Man was great, Horizon, all this stuff. So I mean, I've seen some footage of it. It looks fun. I don't know this. This is the biggest. It's one of the biggest question marks on my list because it's. I don't know what this is. I don't know what this studio is capable of because it's the first time they're actually making like a huge AAA game, as opposed to just like they made like the Uncharted for Vita and stuff like that. But I have high hopes for it. It looks good. They've had plenty of time, and the game was even delayed. It was supposed to be out this month initially, but they delayed it to April. So
You
I'm
know
looking
what?
forward to it.
You know what? You just
Yeah.
want to live out your fucking Sons of Anarchy fantasies. That's what it
Well,
is.
there's a little bit of that. I'm curious because in a way it seems kind of dumb that you're like you're in this zombie apocalypse, but you're riding around this fucking loud ass motorcycle. Like, it almost seems like contradictory to the
Yeah.
point of a zombie game where you're trying to like stay silent and not alert fucking zombies, which they're called freakers in this game. But yeah, so it's just like I'm curious how they're gonna handle. Like it seems like really dumb to be riding around on a motorcycle of all things in a zombie apocalypse.
Wait, does it? Have you heard it in the trailer? Like maybe it runs on electric. Like maybe it's an electric motorcycle.
Yeah, maybe it's made by Elon Musk. Yeah, I don't know. I don't. I haven't watched any of the recent gameplay footage of it because I kind of just want to play it for myself. I don't want to get
Yeah.
like spoiled. So I haven't really been keeping up with it. It's once I get to a certain point where I've seen enough footage or heard enough about a game, I'm like, all right, I'm good. I'm just gonna play it. And like I said, if I never saw anything on this game, just knowing it's a first party Sony game, I was gonna pick it up either way. So,
Okay.
what's your feelings on it? Have you seen anything on this Days Gone? What do you think about it?
I don't really know much about it, other than what you just told me. And I kind of just looked it up as you were talking about it, and there's a picture here. It's like okay. I don't know. Like I know Sony makes great first party games, but you can always fail. Like you're not always perfect. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah. Well,
but
I
like
mean,
it's
it's
another
already.
zombie game. Like I thought that died out.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just not. I'm not of that. I'm not of that mind because, like, I feel like there's so many zombie games out there, but none of them, like, all of them take elements of what I want from a zombie game, but none of them made like the ultimate zombie game to me. Like, yeah, I like Left 4 Dead, and there's other things. What was the one we played on Xbox earlier this year? What was it called?
Um, shoot.
But yeah, but no, I played that. I mean, so that has more of the like survival elements that I want, and there's other games where the combat is more fun. So it's just, I'm not really tired of zombie games per se. I mean, yeah, it's a cliche like go to enemy type. Like when we played what was that? Was it the Zombie Army trilogy? Like that was a completely different take, and I thought that was really fun. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
zombies, like the fact that there's like zombies in this game, it doesn't bother me. I like it, keep coming out with that stuff as long as you can give me a different take on it. Which this looks completely different than a lot of the zombie games I've seen or played. So I think it looks cool. But
It's
so what's your
State of Decay, by the way, was the game.
yeah, State of Decay, yeah, yeah. So what's your number four most anticipated game?
Number four would be Division Two. That's probably on your list too, right? Because it's coming out soon.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So that's my number three. I like Ubisoft games. It's a
I
known
know.
quantity. I already know what it is. I already know how it's going to play and what it's going to feel like. And I played the beta over the weekend, which we'll talk about in the what we've played segment moving forward.
Yeah, I know.
So what
I know
else?
you love your Ubisoft games. You love the
Yeah,
You love just endless collection of feathers and other shit.
Hey, look, man, they've got that formula down, man. They know how to grab me time and time again. That's on both of our lists. Yeah, we don't have to talk about it too much. But my number four is kind of a wild card. It's going to be uh, Respawn's Star Wars game Jedi Fallen Order. Now, this is supposedly coming out this year. They said that last year. They've said it now. Respawn just released Apex Legends, which is the game that's all the hotness right now. Which again, I'll talk about that in the what we're playing section. But we have not seen anything on this game. We know literally nothing, and it's supposedly coming out this year. And the main reason I'm excited for it, really is just because for me, based on the last three things that Respawn has put out, I'm a huge fan of that studio, and they've made solid games that I really like. I played the shit out of Titanfall 1. Titanfall 2 was great too, and I kind of like Apex. So they're 3-0 for me. And if this is a Star Wars game, I'm sure it's going to be more of. I don't think it's going to be this huge like AAA title per se, like this huge just like blow your mind thing. But it's probably going to be like a more scaled down, solid experience. And it's supposed to take place during the Jedi Purge, during Order 66, which I think is an interesting time to base a game on. So you're probably going to have a lot of like cool mechanics with like Jedi fighting, a bunch of clone troopers and all this stuff. Like maybe it'll be a little bit like the Force Unleashed or something where you're just using your Force powers to destroy a bunch of people. Or what I'm really hoping is that it's more like a Jedi Academy, Jedi Outcast, like what was that series called? They had the Dark Forces, and it eventually became a couple other things like those type of games, like a first person where you can use like guns and stub blasters, and you can have like lightsabers and force powers. That's kind of what I'm hoping this game is going to be like. It's sort of like those games. Like I said, but we don't know. I haven't seen anything. There's not even a screenshot. There's not even a splash screen. There's not even a title. There's not even a graphic for this. So
I think
I
what
don't
you're
know
going to
what
get.
it is.
I think what you're going to get is Star Wars Pod Racer 2.
Well, hey man, that was kind of all right for his time. I mean,
I
played
liked
some
them.
Star Wars Racers. Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I think it's going to be a more scaled down thing. This is not the sort of EA titles that they were promising with Amy Hennig's project and the recently canceled whatever it was. But like I said, Respawn does good work. This is probably going to be a more scaled down experiences, maybe even a double A experience. But it's probably going to be pretty solid. I think that's my hope. So that's the only reason why I put it on the list is because I have a lot of faith in the studio and their ability to just like put something out that's really solid, like mechanically above all else. Like graphics and all that stuff will probably be not the most important part about it, but gameplay wise, I'm hoping this is going to be like a cool. I get to play as a Jedi and fight a bunch of people and lightsaber dudes up and shit like that.
I hope it's good too. I'm a Star Wars fan, not as big as you, but like we've all been burned by these things, right? So
Yeah.
I temper my expectations a bit, but I hope it's really good.
Yeah, well, the only other wrinkle in this is my New Year's resolution to not buy any EA games day one is going to be really hard if this looks like it's actually going to be cool. So what's your number 3?
My number 3 is Rage 2 because I love me some post-apocalyptic action.
Yeah.
It looks
so
good.
that's yeah. So I think our lists are pretty similar. So that's actually my number 1.
Really?
So that kind of spoils my number 1. But tell me why you're looking forward to it.
Well, I love the post-apocalyptic scenario. Like, I'm a huge Mad Max fan. I've always been since I was a kid. I used to watch him with my dad and everything. And I've always loved that setting, like fighting over water or gas or whatever, and just strapping tires to your body. And I love that feel. And like Borderlands had that feel. The first Rage was great. It looked great too, and it ran great because it was like 60 frames per second. So I'm hoping.
Yeah, the first Rage was kind of a mixed bag. Like it had these weird elements to it that didn't work. but I
Sure,
loved. I
but as
kind
a
of loved
whole,
everything about it.
yeah,
Yeah,
as
as
a
a
whole,
whole,
I
I kind
thought
of
it
liked
was
it.
great. Like that's what happens when you try to innovate. And I think the biggest thing that came out of that game was everybody was all like, "Oh, it's running at 60 frames per second," and that's all really people focused on. Like, yes, the game could have been a lot better, but I think they achieved something. And obviously, if they have a sequel, something's there. So I'm hoping they continue with this franchise.
Yeah, the sort of semi-open world segments of that game didn't really work that great. Like it was kind of like I don't want to say proto like open world, but they were kind of like messing around with the idea of making an software game
Right.
with some like minor open world elements to it, and all that kind of stuff didn't really work for me. But the more linear, traditional id Software like Doom, I'm just going in and killing a bunch of people. Those segments really work for me, and oddly enough, I really enjoyed that stupid, shitty collectible card game in that game.
Oh, really? Yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah. So it was just like, all these disparate elements of that game that were just like really weird, but I enjoyed it. I mean, I liked Rage 1.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, yeah, like you said, I don't have a fondness for like I don't have this nostalgia for the old Mad Max movies. I like the new movie and I enjoyed that Mad Max game, but I like the post-apocalyptic. Like I like this kind of style too, like you. So that's part of why I'm looking forward to it. But the other part is that like they're going to have this is one of the only games that I know of coming out that's going to have some car combat elements to it, and that sort of ties into our history and what we like and how we met each other. So I don't know of any other games coming out that have like car combat elements to it.
Hold on. Did you just fucking say you don't like the Mad Max movies, the original ones?
No, I'm just saying like I watched them back in the day, but I didn't have this. I don't have this like connection to them.
Oh
Like
my
I don't
god.
like they weren't like they're not like some of my favorite movies or anything like that.
What?
I mean, I'm sorry.
Oh.
I'm sorry, bro. Like, I just don't like. I don't have this like connection. I saw him a couple of times. I'm like, that's neat. It just didn't resonate with me at the time, but it does the older I get though. And but because they're so old, like I don't have a connection to them now. It's just like Star Wars or like Terminator or Aliens or something like that. You know what I mean? It's not something that really drew me in at that age.
Okay, that's fair. We talked about it last week how you're not big on retro.
No,
So
I am.
it's
I just have my unique things. It's basically Predator, Aliens, which of those properties are fucking shit and done now, and then you have like stuff like Star Wars, which is halfway shit now. So
all right. Do you watch 70s porn too or what?
I like the Bush, man. I like some Bush. All right, so so that was your number 3, right?
Yeah,
So,
yours is
the
Division.
Rage, and then so yeah, the Division was my number 3. So what's your number 2?
Number 2. And I have high hopes for this because it's almost similar to the post-apocalyptic stuff, but cyberpunk. Really hoping this game comes out this year because I really do with a really awesome, like dystopian future, like role-playing game that's better than Deus Ex.
Yeah, so I mean, you're talking about Cyberpunk 2077, right?
Yeah. Why did I say
Yeah,
something
so
wrong?
I mean that's no. I you said Cyberpunk but you didn't say 2077. I didn't know if you were just talking about the genre or the actual game itself. I
Sorry,
didn't know
I'm
if you were
talking
about to go into
slang
like
here. I'm talking.
I didn't know
slang.
if you were talking. I didn't know if you were talking about like Outer Worlds, which is another sort of like dystopian future, cyberpunky, Borderlandsy kind of game. But no, Cyberpunk. Yeah, I mean that's the most anticipated game for me. Even though there's not any clear indications that it will come out this month. Or this year. Sorry, there's been some of the writers from CD Projekt Red that are working on the game have left that studio, and I've heard accounts that people say that the game is actually playable from beginning to end. And they've ramped up their staff in the last year to really they have even more people now than they did on The Witcher 3. So there's still a possibility that this could come out this year, but I feel like if they were really going to do that, I mean, they could pull a Bethesda and drop Fallout 4 style on us Cyberpunk in the fall and really pull it off. I don't know. I feel like maybe they're trying to really polish this though, because if you watch that initial footage of it and you saw that gameplay, you're like, there's no way this game even exists on current gen platforms. Like, this looks like some next level shit.
Right.
I don't know if have you seen that
Yeah.
1 hour footage of it? Yeah, it's I've watched it multiple times, dude. I've watched it probably like 5 times, and I'm just blown away by it every time. And and even me, I'm just like, I don't know if this can come out on current gen platforms, but they've said that it's coming out on PS4 and Xbox. So it's either this year or next year. I mean, that's the only thing that could possibly be. But I don't know. Like, I mean, what do do you really think it has a chance of coming out this year?
Well, I thought it was slim pickings to make this list as it is, and that's just one of those games where I've been watching it, and I'm really hoping it does come out this year because I don't have a lot of anticipated games this year. I'm just going to be playing stuff I didn't get to play last year or throughout the year, so I don't. It probably won't. I hope it does, like you, but you're probably right. It probably will not. And I hope, and I want them to put the care in it. I don't want them to pump it out. And I don't think they're a developer that would just bang it out and get it out there.
Yeah, I mean, to me, they've risen. Even though the only game, well, I've played a few games that they've made, but Witcher 3 is the main example. And then I played like Gwent, and that's pretty much it as far as the stuff they put out. I never played Witcher 1 or 2. But based on Witcher 3, which is one of my favorite games of all time, it's in my top 3 games of all time. Like, they have risen to Rockstar status, literally and figuratively, as far as my favorite developers. And so, yeah, I mean, like, if you got to take 5 more years to make this game, I'll wait. You know what I'm saying? Just make this the best possible game, because that was what was afforded to Rockstar when they made Red Dead Redemption 2, because they're such a, they have so much cash influx that they could do that, but you see the end result when you really take the time to make something great. So yeah. I really don't want them to rush this out. I hope they take the time they need to make it great, because this needs to be the next greatest thing because it should be, and I expect it to be, and I want it to be.
Amen.
All right, so my number 2 is Metro Exodus, which comes out this week. I'll be playing in a couple days. So thankfully we got to, unfortunately we started this podcast a little after the beginning of the year. This would have been something we would have done at the beginning of the year, our most anticipated games of the year. But we got in just right before a lot of the major games came out. So yeah, Metro Exodus, I just absolutely love the Metro universe. I love the Metro games. 2033 and Last Light, I played them on PC. In 3D, because I'm one of those fucking weirdos that plays games in 3D, and I absolutely love that world. I love the atmosphere. I love the sort of survival horror elements of it in a first-person shooter kind of way. There's like weird creatures, and you fight some enemies, like human enemies sometimes, with weird creatures. Because this is also another sort of post-apocalyptic game, or post-apocalyptic setting. Which every game that we've almost, it seems like a lot of games that we've talked about are almost that.
Doom and gloom.
You could even say the Jedi Fallen Order was a post-apocalyptic. This is the downfall of the Jedi. But the Division is a post-apocalyptic. Rage 2, Days Gone, post-apocalyptic. So I guess that's just what we like. Yeah. No, it is. But this is I just love the series. I love it so much. They're one of those Eastern European developers that just really push graphics and atmosphere and stuff like that. And have you played 2033 and Last Light?
I have. I enjoyed them, but I'm not I like first person shooters, but very rarely does it like connect with me. So I like the Metro games. I thought they were great. I like the Wolfenstein games better for some reason. I just like that better. I thought it was a better story.
Yeah, but those are more like fast-paced, like shooty shooters. You know what I mean? Like arcadey, like you're running around, it's like blowing dudes apart. And this is more like a slow, methodical type of like your bullets are like the currency in the game. You know what I mean? Like you can use bullets in your gun or buy stuff. It's more like slow pace and like atmospheric and scary versus like those games where you're just like blasting dudes' head off and stuff like that. So.
I get it. It makes you hard. I know. I know you like these games.
No. I mean, dude, like being a beast player like Doom is just as good as anything else. But like I said, I just like the atmosphere in the world. I like all the weird mechanics of like you get condensation on your mask and you got to wipe it off. You got to change the filters on your mask. You gotta conserve your ammo like you do in like a Resident Evil game or something like that. It's all very cool to me. It just
I don't disagree. I don't disagree.
I don't. There's not too many games like it. There's plenty of first person shooters out there. Don't get me wrong, but this is like a unique take on it. And like I said, 4A games, they make some of the best, just like atmospheric, like sort of slow paced, linear first person shooters out there. Even though this game is sort of venturing out into the territory of more open ended play spaces, they kind of had a couple places like this in Last Light where it was a little bit more open ended, where you can explore versus the sort of corridor driven things that you had in 2033. So this is not fully open world. It's probably going to be a little bit more like a Shadow of the Tomb Raider, where you have these open spaces you can explore a little bit and play around and find things. So I'm kind of interested how that's going to work, because there's too many open world games. There's too many games that give you all this freedom, and there's nothing wrong with that. I like that too, but sometimes I just want that like focused linear experience. So I'll be curious to see how they juggle that and how they sort of implement that into the game. And I'll definitely be talking about Metro in our what we're playing section next week for sure. So Rage 2 was my number one. So what's your number one?
Okay, so my number one, again, it might not come out this year, but I am really looking forward to Doom Eternal. Like 100%.
No, I think that is this year, isn't it? Like I don't know the exact release date, but I'm pretty sure everyone out there is acting like it's coming out this year.
Good. I want it. Because the last one they put out, holy shit. The sound design alone was enough to just make me orgasm. I loved it. Like, I'm a sound guy, and the music was great, and they used it to full effect. Like, when you came into certain areas, certain things happened, and the sounds played, and the music was there, and it reacted to what you were doing. It was such a visceral game, and it just felt great. And I loved how they turned the original Doom, like the retro style Doom, and brought it to modern day. They did a fantastic job with that. Just like I mentioned, Wolfenstein. Like they've modernized these old school games that we grew up with, and they did a fantastic job.
Yeah. It kind of reminds me of Twisted Metal Black, Twisted Metal Black in that way, where like the music would kind of come in.
Yeah.
As like the combat took off in that game, and how it would like fade out.
But the original Twisted Metals had that too.
Yeah. No, I mean, but that was the first time where I really just sort of acknowledged it, and it felt like it like really added to the atmosphere, because that game was so dark. But yeah, no, I mean, that's on my honorable mentions list of games that I'm looking forward to. To me, that's just more of a known quantity for me, where I loved Doom. When did that come out? 2016?
Yeah, I think
it was 2016. So Doom 2016. I mean, that was a phenomenal game, and everyone I know that's played it is absolutely in love with it. I mean, no one has anything bad to say about that game. So yeah, like Doom, like that's why some people would say like, why would you pick Rage 2 over Doom? Well, it's like I feel like I know what Doom Eternal is. I know what that game is going to be. I know it's going to play like, even though they have some like really cool mechanics with like grapple hook, and like it seems like there's a lot more verticality to it. But yeah, Rage is a little bit more unknown quantity, and it's more open world. So I'm kind of interested in that aspect of it. But yeah, you could interchange those two for me. Like I said, I'm totally looking forward to Doom. I just feel like I know what that game is going to be, and so like I said, it's just a known quantity to me. Like I already know I'm buying that day one, no matter what. So it's not a game that I'm necessarily like. Well, I'm looking forward to it, but I'm not like sitting here like with bated breath. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So are there any? Oh, one thing I did want to say about Doom though, just real quick, is like, yeah, like you said, like the music, man. I mean, we talked about it for a second with how they blend it in, but man, there's so few games that have that like fucking metal rock and music, man. I love that shit. I know it doesn't work in most games, and that's why most games don't do it. But man, when you're just running around fucking strafing dudes and hitting demons in the face with rockets and all this, and shotgunning a motherfucker's head off, and the metal music playing, like that just fucking, that hits me to my core, man. Like that just that's hitting all my fucking senses on every level when I'm playing that game.
it sets the tone. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah, exactly.
it just matches what you're doing, what you're seeing, and what you should feel. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
you're a
yeah,
badass soldier ripping demons to shreds, and there's just blood and guts all over the place. And like I remember reading a little bit about it. I don't know who the composer is. I know he does this kind of music on the side or something like that. I could be wrong, but I had a friend tell me that it's like a known metal guy that does this. And from what I gathered, he really used like sounds and stuff that would mimic like what you would like a chainsaw, you know, like the chainsaw is one of the iconic Doom weapons. So he wanted that, like he wanted the music to like resemble that, to feel like that, like you're tearing into flesh with metal. You know what I mean? And
yeah,
I
yeah.
felt like he got it. He nailed it.
Yeah, yeah. No, I mean, I've read a little bit about. I'm not super familiar with it either, but yeah, I know exactly what you're saying. And like I said, it just adds something. There's only been a couple other games that have really done this to great effect, which was oh my gosh, what was that? What was that online shooter or like a co-op game? It was like a horde based where it had metal music and you were fighting zombies and creatures and all that stuff. Oh my gosh, I can't believe I can't think of it. This is the second time I've done this in this podcast. It makes me sad. Where I can't think of the name of it. It was I don't have my Steam up right now, or I could tell you the game. But anyway, yeah, there's only been a few games that have done that sort of, yeah, I'm blasting apart some zombies and monsters and creatures, and there's metal music playing, and yeah, it's like all heavy metal and shit. Like I know it's like a cliche thing, but like it totally works when it works. You know what I mean? Like if you do it to great effect, you know it works. And like you said with the Doom Marine and everything else in the last game, man. Like I like how you just have fucking attitude, like a fuck you attitude. You know what
Yeah.
I mean?
Yeah.
Like in the beginning of that, you get out of that pod and he just punches the screen away, and you see him in the trailer for the Doom Eternal where he grabs the worker and just rips his badge off. And, like he doesn't give a fuck about anyone. Like he's just there to fucking kick some ass and take names. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
And I just love that like sort of '90s attitude about it, where it's just like a game that just doesn't give a fuck. Like it's just about metal music, shooting some demons, all this stuff. You know, like that's just a cool thing. I mean, they tried to do that with like Duke Nukem remake, and also like people tried desperately to sort of grab the '90s vibe from some of these shooters. And there's
Hmm.
been other ones that done it, like Shadow Warrior, where they really got the vibe and they really brought it into the modern day. But I think Doom has done it better than almost anyone. And so yeah, Doom Eternal is going to be an incredible experience, no doubt. All right, so I guess that concludes all our. Well, actually, one thing I will say is that the honorable mentions I have for games I'm kind of looking forward to this year. I'm sure you probably have some too. So the first one is a Sekiro. I don't know how you're supposed to properly pronounce it. Sekiro, Shadows Die Twice. So that's by the From Software developers that do Dark Souls and Bloodborne. It kind of has like a Tenchu vibe to it, which kind of initially attracted me because I thought this was going to be like their Tenchu reboot. But this seems like it's going to be more like the Dark Souls and Bloodborne games. So I'm a little bit like I don't know if I'm going to really like it, but everything I see on it, I'm like, this looks fucking awesome. What do you think about it?
I think it looks interesting for sure. I'm not a big Dark Souls guy, like we mentioned in the first episode, but like for sure, I'd give it a go. I like feudal Japan type games. One of the other games I'm looking at right now called Ghost of Tsushima is another like period feudal Japan piece, and I really like those types of games. So Sekiro could be could be something that's really fun. It just depends how unforgiving it is. If it really is like Dark Souls, it's going to turn me off.
It's pronounced Sekiro.
Well,
No, I
what
don't know.
did you just figure
I
that out
don't know.
now?
I just wanted to be
Just suddenly you're
like kind of
possessed.
racist for a second. Yeah, that's what I was possessed by a dead samurai warrior.
Oh.
But yeah, no, like what was the one you were talking about on PlayStation 4?
Ghost of Tsushima.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You know, I'm looking forward to that too. But it doesn't. They haven't said whether that was coming out this year.
No, I
Oh,
don't.
and another one I want to add too, which I don't know if this is coming out this year, is The Last of Us 2.
Oh
Like
yeah,
that's the
yeah.
if that comes like that's right under like cyberpunk for me for like games that are coming out that I'm like super fucking excited for. So if that comes out this year, like I said, no one's announced anything. We still don't know what's going to happen in the back half of this year. All we know is what's maybe coming out before June or July. So who's to say what happens in the back half of the year? But yeah, no, the Ghost of Tsushima. I mean, that's like because we haven't had those sort of like Onimusha,
Yeah.
Tenchu. Like there used to be a lot of sort of Japanese ninja samurai games that we haven't had in a while in that light. So I'm curious to see if that's gonna be. I mean, like I said, that's a first party Sony game also, so I'm definitely picking up regardless. But yeah, no, but this Sekiro, I mean, it looks cool. Like I don't know, it comes out in March when I'm going to be buying like the Division and some other stuff. I don't know. It's a single player game, so maybe I'll be able to juggle that with some other stuff I'm doing. But it definitely looks really cool. So another thing is, I guess we're kind of glossing over the most obvious thing that we should be talking about or thinking about, which is Anthem. Which
Yeah,
this
but
goes
our
into.
our hopes are like so low.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sorry, I just don't like. Look, it's one thing that it's an EA made game, and like I said, I'm not buying any EA games day one anymore. But it's also a thing where this is something. This is one of these ongoing games as a service games where they're going to add content and patch and update and rebalance stuff all the time. And so this is not something that I really just feel like I want to get invested in. The kind of difference between this and the Division is that like Ubisoft has been working on the Division 1 for a few years now. So they kind of know what they're trying to do. So I'll give them like I have more faith that they might be able to pull off the Division 2 than BioWare making this games as a service game with Anthem and what they're going to do with that. So like I said, my only experience with it is downloading the private beta or whatever the fuck it was. I don't even know what these terms mean anymore, and loading it up. And I didn't connect to a server, and then I said, "All right, I'm out," and then I deleted it. So, what do you think?
I didn't play it. I was excited for it. Like I'm a big Mass Effect fan. I'm a big Dragon Age fan. I really wish, or really hope rather, that this turns out to be a great game. It probably won't, because EA just has a track record, especially lately, of just fucking these things up. And
Yeah, well, it'll probably be good after the fact, but at launch,
it's too
I have no
late.
faith it'll be good.
It's too late. Not many games get to make a comeback after the fact. I can't even think of an
Uh,
example.
I'm kind of like 50 with you on that. Like it's certain games make a comeback, like,
Well,
but
the Destiny games did, but like they had the money behind it to just ram it down people's throats.
yeah, but that was a on off shit for a long time with me, and I've eventually just walked away from it, not because I actually hate it, but because I just don't have time to keep up with something like that when I want to play all these other insane games. So who's to say? But yeah, no, it looks good. I'm super interested in it. Like on any other year, I would have picked this up day one, no questions asked. It's an EA game. It's a AAA game. It's made by BioWare. Even though this seems outside of their wheelhouse in almost every other way, other than the third person combat, and the clips I've seen of it look really good, but it's just I just know what it's going to be, man. Like I know it's going to be a lackluster, disappointing experience at launch, and then there's going to be the redemption story arc for it where they patch it and they fix this, and it becomes better, and now you want to play it. And so I'll just wait and play it later when it's like actually good.
Yeah, no, I agree. We'll see what happens.
And then so like Doom Eternal was actually on my honorable mentions, but we were talking about that. But there's another potential game that could be coming out this year, which is Gears 5. I feel like they'll probably drop that this year. They haven't said so. It's another one of those like I don't know when they're going to release it, but I enjoy a good Gears game here and there. It's not something I look forward to. I've never been a huge fan of Gears. I've just played it because it's fun. It's a fun co-op game. It's something to do with my friends, and it's just like it's a fun experience. I like it. I'll always show up for a new Doom title, or I'm sorry, a new Gears title. So I don't know if that comes out this year. Cool, I'll play it, and we'll all play it, and we'll have fun. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm the same as you. It's a good co-op game. I do enjoy like the characters in it. It doesn't have like an amazing story in my opinion. Marcus Phoenix is pretty. He has great lines. He made me laugh a lot in Gears 4. Um, it's just, yeah, it's fine, whatever. I wasn't in love with Gears 4. I wasn't in love with any of the games, really. It's just, it's a fun third person co op game.
Yeah, yeah, no. And the last one I have on my honorable mentions list is that Wolfenstein Youngblood, which I don't really know if it's supposed to be a separate game, like a Far Cry spin-off type smaller game, or if it's like a DLC for the last game they put out. But I like the Wolfenstein games. So Youngblood looks like it would be something like if it came out, I'd probably pick it up for the most part. Like, what do you think about that?
I don't know too much about it because I just saw it floating around. So I don't know. I'm kind of burnt out on it right now, so I might pick it up later, but not overly excited.
Yeah. All right, so I think that concludes our most anticipated games of 2019. And now we're going to move into the what we're playing section.
So this week I started two games. Guacamelee 2. I talked about it in our first episode, how much I like the original one. So I picked up the second one. And I also picked up a game called Wargroove, which is like an Advanced Wars Shining Force tactical RPG. So Guacamelee 2, I would say it's more of the same, but it's not. It's a good example of a sequel of you have the first game and then you just build off of that, and that's the next game where you have new puzzles, new ways of doing things, new enemies, new everything. It's not cookie cutter like it could have been. It could have just been more of the same, where a lot of games as a sequel just kind of do the same thing and introduce one or two new mechanics. This one's just a lot smarter in terms of like the puzzles with the enemies. The level design is great. There's a lot of levels that you go through, and the stuff that you have to do to complete it make you laugh because it's either so ridiculous or so clever that it's set up that way.
Yeah, so I guess you should say up front, like Guacamelee is sort of a Metroidvania type
Yeah,
game, right?
sorry. Yeah, so it's a Metroidvania type game where you start off with no skills, no anything, and you just explore the different maps. You go from room to room. You fight enemies. You find items. You get new skills like double jump to reach a higher spot, or you get like a strong punch that'll break a wall to get you into another area. So it's a lot of backtracking and stuff, and I like that just to find secrets and stuff like that. But yeah, it's a great Metroidvania type game. And I know last week you mentioned Shadow Complex, and I actually played the remastered version of that last year again. And I would say something like Guacamelee is up there with that type of game where it's just really well made. There's a lot of care put into it, a lot of culture, because it's all about like Mexican culture surrounding like death and luchadors, and just it covers everything, and it's just a lot of fun. Even the writing is pretty funny for a lot of stuff
Yeah,
that
I
happened in
mean,
it.
my only experience with it was playing Guacamelee 1 on the Vita, and I don't think that was the best. I think that's why I stopped playing it eventually, because I got to a point where trying to play it on those little nubs on the Vita was like you can't be precise in the movements and stuff that you need to do.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I was definitely digging it when I played the first game. So it's at some point, like, I don't know, is it on the Switch?
I think so. Yeah, I think both games are on the Switch now.
Yeah, it probably is. It's one of those things like a lot of games like that are secondary to me. Like that seems like something I would like to try and pick up maybe somewhere. But yeah,
it's definitely.
So what do you? I mean, you think about it?
It's definitely a game where a controller benefits, because I played on the Vita first. I beat it, and then I played it again on the Xbox.
Oh, look at you bragging! You beat it on the Vita. Oh, look at you!
Yeah, I did. Not on the hardest setting, but I did beat it, and it had hard puzzles and stuff. But definitely,
I felt like you were jabbing me, right?
No, I wasn't jabbing you. Like, I'm sorry you didn't beat it. I'm sorry you couldn't figure out some of the puzzles. Like,
sorry, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, I'm a stupid idiot.
Yeah,
my bad.
So I know the difference between like the Vita being so small and having it in your hand as a controller. Like, there's a definite difference. It does feel better with a controller in your hand. So with that said, Guacamelee 2 is a lot harder than the first one. Almost right out of the gate. Like, it takes a little bit, but I know the end game of the first game was difficult, but this game almost starts it within like the first hour or two, where it's just like a continuation of, let's see how fucked we can make these people's fingers. Like, It's fun. I like it. It's challenging. It's not too punishing. I don't know. I just really like that game.
Yeah, the sad thing about a lot of those games is like I kind of just it's something like I would want to play, but I'm not super excited about it. So like maybe it'll be free on PlayStation Plus or Xbox Live Gold at some point.
Yeah.
Like I hate thinking about those little games in that way, but you almost have to at a certain point.
Yeah, it's
So
just
did
not
you
your
beat?
thing.
Yeah, did you beat it?
No, not yet. I'm about 6 hours in. It's probably about halfway through. So we'll see. We'll see.
I played a little bit more of Resident Evil 2. I'm not going to talk about it too much because I just got farther in it. I was hoping to actually be able to beat it by this week, but I didn't really get a chance to do that because I was so busy last week. But I played the Division beta, the Division 2 beta. I played it on PC for a little bit. I played the actual original Division on the Xbox. So even though I had downloaded the Division One on PC and played it a little bit, had a little bit of familiarity with playing on that platform. This is my second experience sort of playing this on that platform, but it's more Division. It seems like it's on track to be what you want it to be. I mean, I don't know. I've seen some people that are like really into the Division 2 online talking about giving a more in-depth analysis of it. I only played it for like a few hours, and I was kind of exploring and just getting to trying to get a feel for everything that's maybe different. Overall, it didn't feel that different. I know there are some things with like skills and stats and your gear that's a little bit different from the first game. But it's still fun. I mean, I still like. I mean, I just love the overall vibe. I mean, I think the third person shooting of that game, even though it's got these layered on RPG elements and bullet sponge enemies, I think there's a lot of different cool mechanics and stuff like that that make it unique and fun. So I was enjoying it. I felt that the map seemed a little small. Like I didn't explore the whole thing, so maybe it's just one of those things when you're like looking at it, like panned back and looking at the whole map. It seems smaller than it really is once you get into it, and I'm sure there's a little bit of verticality, and there's obviously going to be some subway systems and stuff going on there, but the map seems smaller, especially when you consider that Ubisoft likes to make these gigantic fucking maps that are too fucking large for their goddamn games. But I was digging it. I mean, I like it. I'm looking forward to it. It was both. It was on both of our lists as far as games we're looking forward to. But it's kind of a known quantity. I don't have any huge, important things to say about it other than it's more Division. And the couple things I did notice just playing it were that it seems like it's going to be some different elements to the way the enemies move throughout the map and the way you can sort of have bases that you conquer and take over, and then the enemies might come back and try to take over again. And then there's like it seems like there's roaming gangs or different enemy factions that are just kind of randomly roam around the map. So you don't have this sort of static layout like you do in the Division 1 and even Destiny, where it's like if you go to the specific part of the map, there's always this specific type of enemies that are going to spawn there or going to be sitting there waiting for you to kill them. It seemed like there's a little bit more of randomness to it, where there might just be a roaming gang or a battle or something that happens at a random street corner or here and there trying to take over a base. And then there's elements of you go to these little outposts and they're just basically these little communities that have been trying to survive, and you can do things for them, for the NPCs to try to build up and establish. It's almost like a base building type mechanic going on. I didn't really engage with it too much. You just complete missions and side quests, and you find materials and stuff, and maybe you can build up this base and give these people a little bit more of peace of mind, like giving them supplies and that kind of thing. But overall, it was more Division. I'm looking forward to it. I kind of know what it is. It's hard to say based on what I play, because I didn't even finish all the content that you could finish in the beta. So I don't know. I don't even know, like what all is in there. I just like I said, I played it for a few hours and it was fun. And but I don't know what ultimately what these games hinge on is their in-game stuff. So like this game might just be fun for 30, 40 hours, just to play through the single player and dick around. But it's all going to determine whether it's successful if you can, if the in-game content, if it's going to keep you coming back day after day or week after week. So it's hard to say about that stuff right now. So do you didn't get to play it at all, did you?
No, I didn't get into the beta.
I was hoping me and you could actually play together this week, but we didn't actually get to play together because for some reason I didn't pre-order the game, but I was able to get into the beta on PC. So you said you pre-ordered it or
yeah,
no?
I pre-ordered it. They gave me a code, and you put the code in and you pick what platform you want it on, and I did that, and I just never got a code for the Xbox or wherever I picked it for.
Yeah, so we're going to be talking about that a lot more in the future. So what was the second game that you played this week you want to talk about?
I'll just talk about it quick. I picked up Wargroove, which is, like I said, it's like a tactical RPG game. So it's like a top-down retro style game where you have units and you spawn them in, and they have like attack ranges and they can move so many squares and all that sort of stuff. So it's like a tactical, like a fun tactical game where you have to like really think about where to place your units, and when certain units are beside each other, they get bonuses, and you have to make sure your commander doesn't get killed and stuff. So it's almost like a tabletop game. It's really good. The music's great. The visuals are great. It's fun. It's just hard. And I'm kind of stupid sometimes because I'll throw my commander too close to the front lines, and if the commander dies, it's game over. But it's a really good game. It's not like a huge game. It's just more of like scenario based. Like you're doing the same sort of things, but it's like Advanced Wars, and I know there's a huge following for like Advanced Wars type games.
I was about to ask you what it compares to, because I was trying to think about. I've not played a lot of tactical games, so you said it's more like Advanced Wars.
Yeah, so like I know you like XCOM. It's like that in one respect, but it doesn't have the verticality. It's just like flat ground, and you can go up mountains and stuff, so you could see a little bit further. But it doesn't like change if you hit for more or anything. It's more like defense based, but it's similar to that, but it's just more difficult, and there's more mechanics to it. There's more layers. XCOM to me was scaled down a bit. Like you can get the higher ground and you can use a couple attacks, like special attacks and stuff like that. And this is just more involved, a lot more involved, more strategic.
Yeah, I mean, I have very limited tactical strategy, RPGs or whatever experience. So I played Final Fantasy Tactics back in the day, and I bounced off that because it seemed too hard to me. But I wasn't that invested in it. And then I played XCOM, so my experience with that kind of genre is very limited.
Yeah, well, if one of our listeners is into that sort of thing, definitely try out Wargroove. It's pretty solid.
Yeah, that's cool. I mean, I'm glad you're bringing that random, sort of offbeat experience to this. So the next game I'm going to talk about, which is all the fucking hotness this week, is Apex Legends. So this was leaked over the weekend as a game that was coming out, and it was they were like, it's coming out Monday. So they were dropping it on us Monday, and this is a battle royale game made by the makers of Titanfall. And so when I first heard these rumors, I was like, oh well, I'm already all in on this. I'm at least going to try it, at least going to give it a shot, because I love Titanfall. Me and Magnum played a ton of Titanfall 1 multiplayer on Xbox back in the day. Like, we played the shit out of it, and I loved it. I didn't play as much Titanfall 2 multiplayer. I love the single player in that game. I played a little bit of multiplayer. I didn't like some of the changes, but I didn't give it enough of a fair shot. But so I was already all in on this, and I was a little bit disappointed that they didn't have the sort of Titans. They didn't have Titans in the game. They weren't going to be in there, so I was like, okay, well, at least I could probably still do all the wall running and grab hooking stuff of the pilots. Well, it's like, no, you're not playing as the pilots either. So it's like, well, okay, so what is this game going to be? And it turns out that it's a little bit like the Blackout mode from Call of Duty last year, Black Ops 4 or whatever. So it plays a little bit like that, just in terms of like overall gunplay. So it has that Call of Duty feel, because the Respawn developers are the people that broke away from Activision back in the day in Call of Duty, and they made their own game, which is Titanfall. So it still has that same feel. But I played some with Brian over the weekend on PC. I played a couple nights for a little while, 2 or 3 hours. I probably have about maybe 5 hours in this game, and it's something else, man. It's an incredible game. I'll say that. Just objectively, it is an incredible game. It is very rich and deep as far as mechanics. It is one of the most incredibly just fulfilling games as far as mechanics and your ability to be able to improvise and do different things based on the character classes. So it has a sort of Overwatch vibe to it where you have different character classes you play as. So you drop in. It's a battle royale game. You drop in. You're always playing on a team of three. So you're always in a team. There's no solo queue. There's no duo queue or more than that. And so you're always dropping in with a squad of three. And so automatically it's a team based game. And what I really like about it is everything in the game just works as far as a team based game. Like when you drop in with your, you have a main leader and he's like, we should drop here, and then you can be like, okay, let's drop there, and then but you could also recommend somewhere else where you drop, and so there can be some democratic decisions made within the group. But then there's what I consider to be one of the greatest mechanics in the game is the ping mechanic. So I don't know how it works on consoles. I haven't played on there yet. I downloaded it on Xbox. But if you hit the middle mouse button on PC, you can do the ping, and then you can build that out even into like a wheel of different choices you can make. So you can say you can just point to something on the map and say, let's go here, or let's do this. But there's also a different sort of level to it where you can be like, there's an enemy here. There's this is a weapon here that I found that you might want. And so you could drop things and talk. And so you don't even need to do voice chat in the game. Because a lot of people are just going to play with randos and they're not going to want to talk. But they've built out these mechanics and elements to the game where you don't even really need to communicate with each other through voice chat. You can tell your fellow players all the things that they need to know about the game through this ping system. And it's really fucking brilliant. But beyond that, just all the mechanics of the game, it's your typical battle royale. You're dropping in, you're trying to survive, you have one life, but they have all these different wrinkles to it where there's a revive system. So if your teammate goes down, you can go over and collect their, I forget what it's called, it's like an ID card or some kind of card, and you can go to a respawn station and actually spawn them back in. Now they won't have all the items and weapons that they had, but it's a chance to it's a chance for redemption. And so it's an interesting wrinkle because as people realize that that's what you're trying to do, that they can watch or respawn. It's a gamble, it's a gambit. And so like a lot of things in this game, it's all based on what you can do, like the moves you can pull off. The map itself is pretty cool because it's kind of like Blackout in the same way too, where it's like a remix in a way, not in the way that Blackout was, but it's almost like a remix of like a bunch of different Titanfall type maps and ideas, like just themes and stuff of those maps. But it's really smart the way the map's laid out, the way it funnels people into certain areas. Like you can do this cool slide where you slide down any incline and you can just keep sliding. If you hit crouch and you just slide down. And it's got this like double jump and then like climbing on the thing, just grab onto certain ledges and pull yourself up. It's not super in depth as far as like parkour stuff, but it just, the amount of things that you can do is overwhelming when you first start playing it. Like you start playing it and you're like, you don't even know the possibilities of the stuff you can do. There is a character that can make these portals, these rifts, and you can place two of them anywhere on the map. So right there with that, you have these strategic elements that you could accomplish at any given point. Like I saw someone at one point, because I've even been watching people play this online because it's so interesting to me, like seeing like high level play of this, that I've actually been watching people play, and I never watch people play video games. It's very rare that I do that. But I was watching this guy, and he put this rift out somewhere back in one part of the map, and then he ran out and put a rift by his down player, and ran back, and he went through the rift, and then he created it so his like down player could like crawl through the rift and come back, and he could revive him without being in the line of enemy fire. So there's like grapple. There's these, and so each enemy or each character type has all these different things they could do. Like one of them shoots these little zip lines all across the level, so you can zip up, get on something crazy. And there's like these little ropes with balloons in the middle of the map, and you can run up those and like relaunch up in the map and drop down again. And like I said, when you drop in the beginning, you drop with your team, like you all stay together. I mean, you can split off if you want, but you're like just initially you're made to drop with your team. Like you drop in as a group of three, and there's different things where you can like send off a decoy if you play with a certain character. I'm not totally familiar with all the characters and all their abilities. This is what I've gathered playing it and watching it. But so you can just do all these like little fake outs and all. It's, dude, mechanically, it is one of the most insane games I've played in a long fucking time. Like it is crazy, and I love everything about it. I love absolutely everything about this game. But the negative side of it is that I'm fucking terrible at it, and I just get wrecked. Just get fucking wrecked in it, and it sucks because like I would just want to play it. I just everything fundamentally going on in this game is absolute beauty. I mean, this is a game that just came out of nowhere. Someone just, this is EA didn't have any marketing building up to this, and it's funny because you go back and you see that like Respawn has said since then that like, yeah, we didn't want this like stigma attached to this game about loot boxes and all this bullshit. So that's why they didn't advertise it beforehand. They just try to drop it on us. But you see why, and obviously it's a battle royale game, so it's capturing all the hearts and minds right now. It's the new hotness. Everyone's playing. All the streamers are playing it. Everyone that's cool is playing this game right now. But I don't have a background in this genre. I've not played a ton of battle royale games. I've played PUBG a little bit. I've never played Fortnite. Never interested me. So I don't have that foundation, which is what I think you really need to have if you're playing this game. Like I think this game is made for the people that have been playing these battle royale games. Like this is all the new hotness. Everyone that's playing Fortnite, PUBG, all that stuff. This is made for them. And like I said, I'm like I love everything about it, but I just don't know if I can continue to play it because I get so dominated in it, and to a degree that I've never been dominated this hard in a game in a long time. So just to quit rambling for a second and throw it to you, what do you think about this game? You haven't played it, right?
Fuck no. Bro, I am so counterculture. I would not play these fucking Royale battle-y games. Fuck that.
No,
Fuck that whole genre, man. I can't handle it because all I picture is a bunch of kids teabagging you, swearing at you, using words that they hear their parents say and shit. No. That's not me. When I say I love RPG games, it's because I don't have to bother with anybody. And I know that the screen's not going to yell at me and try and teabag me and call me all these names and stuff. You know what I mean? I get treated like shit at work. I don't need to do it when I'm consuming entertainment.
Well, I mean, you're not treated like shit. You just get fucking owned and wrecked in a way that makes you want to crawl in a hole and die.
Well, that too. I'm depressed enough as it is over certain things. I don't need something else to give me that. You know what I mean?
Like, I guess the main difference here is that, like, yeah, you could play other multiplayer games, and if it's a thing where you can respawn, then at least you can make a comeback or get some kills and feel good about yourself. This is a game where, like, if you fuck up, like, you're dead. But one thing I will say is that, like a good battle royale game should be, you can quit out of the game and spawn in and start another game like very quickly. So it's not like you're sitting there.
Right.
I mean, if you're playing with people that you want to play with, and there's maybe a chance that they can revive you or respawn you, then maybe you'll stick around. But to the average person, they're probably not going to, unless they feel like they really can bring it back. So,
But doesn't that screw your team over?
Potentially, yeah.
Well,
And that's
that's
a
garbage.
potential.
That's garbage.
Well, but that's a potential problem with this game. It's just like, and that's ultimately why I think I won't be able to play it anymore. Is because
people are impatient.
Well, no, it's because if I have unless I have a dedicated crew of 3 or at least 2, and we're committed to learning this game and playing it, and we were actually communicating, because as much as I was talking about the ping system and all that, unless I have like friends that I can communicate with or that will make it more inherently, I don't know if it will be worthwhile for me to invest time into it, even though I love everything about it. Like I legitimately love everything about this game. Like I said, mechanically, it is one of the fucking coolest games I've played in years. Like legitimately, I'm not even like hyping it up.
Then you should play
I'm
it.
just saying.
Then you should play it. Play it for a bit. Find a group of people and just see where it goes. I'm not going to be part of that group, but you can go out there, be social, and find some friends.
But that sucks because like none of my friends are interested in it. Like none of my friends want to even try this game, and it's like, I mean, I'm just willing to give anything a chance. You know what I'm saying? Like even if it's something I know I probably won't like I'm not. And like I said, if this was any other battle royale game other than people that made Titanfall, I wouldn't give a shit about it. But like I said, the first time, so before I even played it, I watched some people playing it online, and as soon as I saw people playing this game, I was like, oh no, though this is the battle royale game for me. Like when I saw people playing, I saw the mechanics, I saw the way it worked, the way the gunplay was, the way the character movement is through the environment, the different character attributes and skills, and how you could layer all this stuff, and you build a team of 3 where your different skills and stuff complement each other. I was like, this is the shit. This is the shit. But like I said, I just get completely fucking owned in it. And it just makes me not want to play it. But at the same time, it's so compelling as a game that I want to play more of it. So it's a weird, dichotomy. It's a weird back and forth.
Hey, remember when we were alpha as fuck? What happened? What happened to us?
Well, I mean, we just it's hard to be. It's hard to be alpha at everything. Like we used to be alpha at all the games that mattered because we could like play all the games that mattered. But it's hard to be alpha at all the games that matter. That's the problem. And you know what I'm saying? Like it's not that we're not alpha. We're totally alpha. We're the most important people coming up in the games industry right now, as far as our opinions, as far as our gameplay, as far as our experience. But we can't play everything and be good at it.
60 years.
Yeah, over 60 years experience in this fucking medium. But that doesn't translate to being good at every fucking game because I don't have 200,000 hours a week to be good at every fucking game. So sometimes I have to bow out and I have to just say like I'm not the best at this. I could be. That's what I was trying to say earlier. It's like I could be the best at this game. We could be the best at this game if we played it and we dedicated the time to it. But like, do you want to dedicate your time to this or something else? I got to find friends that also want to dedicate their time, and then we got to coordinate playing our games together. So you know what I'm saying? It's just a thing of like, no, this has nothing to do with my skill level. I'm still fucking alpha. It's just like, man, I got too many other games to play. I got too many other things I want to play with you guys. So we can't all be alpha at everything. We can only be alpha at a few things. You know what I'm saying? I mean, my basic skills only translate to I mean, the fundamental alphaness of my skills translate to all games, but at a certain point, when I'm like coming against like 20 alphas versus my 1 alpha, like I'm gonna get killed. I can't take on 20 alphas. You know what I'm saying? Like I can only take on a couple. I can maybe take out like 5, 8 at a time, but then like I'm gonna die because it's like 20 alphas versus my alpha. You know what I'm saying?
No, it's fair. I totally get it. I totally get it.
So that's what I'm dealing with.
I didn't mean to attack you there.
I'm sorry. I lashed out and you attacked my alpha, but I wanted to reestablish our alpha just so people knew, because if people didn't know that we're fucking alpha, and you're gonna find out, and if you don't believe it, you're gonna fuck around and find out, and that's what's gonna happen. But so, what are your thoughts on Apex overall? Even as someone who hasn't played it, like I know you hate battle royale, but like, have you seen people play it? Like, what do you have any thoughts on it at all?
I've seen a little bit of gameplay, and it does look kind of cool. It's just I don't have the capacity to invest the time in something so competitive. That's why I don't like Battle Royale, because it's so competitive and there's too many people, and yeah, it can be toxic. I don't have the energy for that. You know what I mean? Like I've never been super competitive. I'll play competitive games if I have friends to play with. I won't do it solo, but I don't get off on that, like being the best in the room, seeing my name up high on the leaderboard. I don't get off on that sort of stuff. It doesn't really matter to me. It's just a game. It's not a big deal. So
Yeah, well,
if it's a big time investment like this to get good at it, I just don't want to do it. I got other things to do. You know what I mean?
yeah. I mean, it's a young man's game. I'll be honest. I mean, someone that can like really sit around and play this game all the time. They were there from day one. You know, they were playing all week. Because by the time I got to it on the weekend, it's like people were already fucking beast mode at it.
Yeah.
So
Well,
yeah,
that was something I was
what,
going to ask you, because you're saying like you were getting destroyed and you were looking up high level play, and it's like this game just came out. How is there high level
yeah, but
play? But then
well,
you
because like
said it.
this
You
is
said it.
but this is a battle royale game, and
Yeah.
all the streamers and all the
So
popular
these
people are
transferable
all about it.
skills.
This is like the Call of Duty of our era, bro. Like this is like the next Call of Duty. You know what I'm saying? We're like, this is the new Fortnite. This is the new Halo. Everyone's jumping on it that cares about this kind of stuff and wants to play the new hottest first person shooter or battle, as it is now, battle royale game. So everyone was already on this shit, and you never know. Here's the thing: is like you can play PUBG and all these other games like Fortnite, and they have team modes in those games too. But if you're just doing like solo queue, like sure, it's all about you and what you can do. But this game, like you're probably going to have these B squads out here that are like three people running together. They're communicating. Like I said, I don't like I said I don't watch too many people play video games. I've actually spent more time watching people play this game this week than I have watching that I would normally spend watching people play a video game. Just because like I like seeing what's possible with what's capable. And when you see some of these like high end people play this game, and it's really remarkable.
Mm.
And that's another disheartening thing about it is like you're like, oh, well, not only do you have to come into it with this like foundation of like I've been playing battle royale games for the last 2 years, but I'm also a good first person shooter player, and I also have a crew of people, and we just like fucking know how to communicate and wreck shit individually. So it's a very complicated, but yeah, no, it's an amazing game. Like I said, I'm of two minds about it because like I said, I can't play it the way I want to, which means that I'm probably not going to play it that much anymore. Maybe not ever, even though I want to. But like everything about that game, like if this had been our Twisted Metal Black, dude, this would have been like an incredible experience. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Like you just
that's
have to
fair.
think about it in that context of it's like if this would have been like the Twisted Metal Black of our day, we would have all been all over this, and we would have all been dissecting it and playing with our friends, and it's just a different time. So you can't force that stuff onto you. At a certain point, you have to realize that like I can't play this on the level it needs to be played, but I can totally respect it, and that's where I'm at with this. Where I'm like, this is an incredible game, and that's the other thing I want to say, just real quick, is that like this is a really polished, really well-rounded game just starting out, whereas like Fortnite wasn't even a battle royale game when it first launched,
Hmm.
and it only turned into the Fortnite we know today because of the popularity of PUBG. And PUBG was this like ragtag game thrown together from people that had been working off the Arma. They made DayZ, all that kind of stuff. So it was always a weird like sort of janky engine and mechanics and stuff. So this is the first battle royale game, even more so than Blackout with Call of Duty. Even though I didn't play that, I watched some people play it. This is like the most polished like AAA version of a battle royale game that I've seen. So already out of the gate, it's not like one of those things where you're just like, well, maybe this will be good in 3 months. Like, no, like from what I've seen online, like everyone loves this game. Everyone's like, especially the people that are into this, they're already just like, I mean, sure, there's a couple of weapon balance issues, but I mean, everyone seems to be loving it. Everyone seems to be embracing it. So it seems like a really good, smart thing, and as it almost ties into a different conversation you could have about the fact that they just dropped this on us, the fact that they just dropped this game on everyone, and there was no marketing build up and all that to it. Because maybe if it had been marketed and and people would have played it beforehand, maybe it wouldn't have the same impact. And who knows a month from now if people are going to be playing this or people give a shit about it. But it's an interesting way to drop a game on everybody, a polished game of this type from this developer from EA and Respawn. So what do you think about that?
I think we should go on to our topic of the week.
Yeah, I know, you're not investing in that. Like I said, dude, Apex is just a completely incredible game. I could talk about it for a while. There's a bunch of mechanics and things I didn't talk about. But yeah, let's go ahead from here and move into our topic of the week, which I stated earlier is weird quirks, self-imposed handicaps you put on yourself when playing certain games, or awkward ways you like to play games outside of the established rule sets or mechanics. The reason I brought this up as a topic is because for as long as I can remember, especially going back to playing with my best friend, we always did weird things when we played video games. Like, especially because back then, games were a little bit more simple. The parameters were a little bit more simple. And so you would sometimes, if you're just, you rented a game or you bought a game and that's the only game you had for a little while, you would talk about, or you would try to find ways to make it more fun than when it was. So you would do different things to like handicap yourself, or just play it in different ways. Like, I'm only using this gun, or I'm going to try to run through this level, not fighting anybody. I'm just going to try to jump over all these motherfuckers, or whatever it was. And so I've always had these things when I'm playing games where sometimes depending, and it's all dependent on the sort of gameplay and the game itself, as to what I would try to do to make it more fun or more realistic or crazy. Or I sometimes I try to handicap myself. Sometimes I impose different rules on myself, or I restrict myself from using a certain skill or a gameplay mechanic, which is stuff I'll be talking about as we move through this. But just like almost like a taking it from the standpoint of like when you're kids and you go out in the woods and maybe you have your Nerf guns and you make up your own little games. You know what I mean? Like, even though there's in terms of video games, there's established rule sets and mechanics. Sometimes you just kind of make up your own game within that. And so I was just I wanted to make this a main topic because I feel like a lot of people do this, whether they know it or not, because there's, like I said, there's multiple levels of it. So I have some examples, some of them that relate to me and you, just so we can kind of break into this. Some that we share, which is like a Grand Theft Auto. When we played Grand Theft Auto 4 back in the day, that game was pretty bare bones at the beginning. So me and you and Magnum, we would just run around and we would go in a strip club and just get in a shootout. And we would try to hold up for as long as we could, and then we would try to break out at a certain point and get in a car and go on and try to see how long we could survive being chased by the cops. And so that was like an initial thing. And then even in Grand Theft Auto 4, I don't know if you remember this, but we used to do there was this little arena. I can't remember exactly where it was on the map. I think it was near Algonquin, where we would all get cars and we would go in this little arena and we would have a destruction derby, basically a demolition derby. And that was just a weird thing we did. It was not, the game didn't tell you to do this. It was just a made up thing that we did within that game. And, there's examples of this, like what we do in Red Dead now, and things we did in Grand Theft Auto 5. Like, everyone in Red Dead, when it first came out, everyone was doing these fight clubs where it was just a bunch of people would meet up in the game where you would fight each other. And it was basically like a fight club, so it had nothing to do with the imposed gameplay mechanics or systems. It was just like people figuring out weird things to do that were experimental and fun and unique. And I feel like that's the spirit of not only my childhood of just making up games, like whatever it is you do, like you go out with your friends and you're in the woods and let's play hide and seek, but you can't go behind this, you go beyond that tree there, or you can't hide here, and you make up these rule sets and stuff like that. So what is your thoughts on that, and what kind of things have you done in video games that sort of play on this theme here?
So first thing, I just want to go back to you talking about GTA. Like we did a lot of stuff like that were a lot of fun, like hours of just like nonsense. Like with the demolition derby, I used to get out and like try and punch the cars so that they would blow up, and of course I just get run over. But like just nonsensical stuff when we did that. And with Red Dead recently, we were doing like we'd hole up in a bar and we would lasso everyone that came through the door, like all the cops, and the bodies were just piling up when we hogtied them. And like so much so that they started disappearing. Right. So it was
It was
basically
just absolute fucking glitchy chaos. It
yeah,
was so fucking
it was
hilarious.
just four of us standing in the bar, like whipping the rope around, ready, like cocked to like lasso people, and you just see all these ropes like fly out at the same time, like we're fishing for a body. Here comes the guy through the front door. One person gets them, snags them. Another guy comes in, trips over a body, and he's lassoed, and then everyone's hogtied. And then the best part about it is the dialogue and the repetition. Everyone just constantly like
That's what I was about to say.
you're gonna die for this.
Just
You're gonna die. You're gonna die. You're gonna die for this. Like it just gets like insane.
You're going to hell. You're going to hell. You're going to hell. The one guy's in the bar and what's it called? Where he would just say that you're going to hell. You're going to hell.
Valentine.
It's just fucking stupid, fucking broken shit. It's
Yeah,
fucking hilarious.
and the piano player's still playing the songs like nobody's business. There's bullets
He's over
flying.
like,
There's ropes flying. Yeah.
You could even blow the stool out from under him. He's still sitting on a fucking imaginary stool that doesn't exist.
Yeah, like that chaos. And we did that one time, and another posse came in, and all they did was just keep drinking at the bar while all this was happening. It was like a scene from a movie where there's a huge fight,
they
and
were
then there's
getting
like
drunk and passing out, and
Yeah.
occasionally they would fucking like step in and like kill one of us or like to get involved with what was going on. It was just the most random cacophony of just like stupid shit
Insanity,
ever
yeah.
I've seen in a video game.
and we're throwing bodies on the bar table and seeing if we could stack them all up, and it was just like that was like 2-3 hours of nothing. You know what I mean? Like just nonsensical crap that was funny.
Yeah. So, do you have any personal examples of things you do in video games
so
or like that?
so for me, like since I do play a lot of RPGs and stuff, I hoard money like crazy. Like I don't spend money on anything. I'm not really like that in real life. I just hoard money and I hoard items. So I don't really use like potions and stuff to heal. I don't use
Yeah, I feel like that's almost a RPG player trope because
Really?
I remember like
Really?
I'm totally that way. I play RPGs and like I get to the end of the game and I have like 99 potions of fucking everything. I have like all this money because I've just been hoarding it, thinking there's something better around the bend that I'm supposed to buy, or there's
Yeah.
some bigger boss fight where I'm supposed to use all these potions on. And yeah, I just end up having all these fucking access like items and materials and fucking money that I don't use on anything.
Okay, yeah, I don't really talk about this stuff, so I like maybe it's more common, but yeah, for sure. Like I just sell everything and get more money, and then when I get to the next town or whatever, I try and buy like the most expensive stuff so I could be buffed up a bit more. So that's one
I
thing.
do that too. But like I said, I've always been that way. I just hoard everything in a Final Fantasy or whatever else. I'm just like, I'm gonna need this later, and then you get to the end of the game, you're like, I should have used that like 20 hours ago.
Yeah, it's just weird. Like even like mana, if you had to use like stuff to like heal or to like shoot like a lightning bolt or whatever, I don't like that's a resource. And when it comes to like any resource, I hoard it. And it's like I should just use it because by the time I would have used it, I would have like saved or gone into town and got it all back anyway. But I don't use it. Instead, I would just attack them. And
Yeah,
do-
like
and
you
do
would have made
skill stuff.
you would have made your whole experience easier on
Yeah,
yourself.
yeah.
Just
So-
used it earlier.
Exactly. So I made it more difficult. And sometimes I do that in boss fights too, when it's like this boss would have been killed a long time ago. Instead, I'm just like whacking them. I'm using like a wizard character to staff them to death, you know, and he's hitting them for 2, 5.
Yeah, but
like,
yeah, I think that's that weird thing where like you get to there's been these random games throughout our entire life where you get to like a certain point in the game and you don't have the resources you need. So games have like almost trained us in a way to like hoard shit until we ultimately need it. So it's made us all like fucking scared to like fucking use anything worthwhile until we think we like ultimately need it. And then you get to the end of the game and you have an overabundance of this thing and you're like, oh, well, I guess I should have used that a long time ago.
it's like when your grandparents have gone through war and they just hoard the shit out of everything. And you're like, why are you hoarding this stuff in your garage, Grandpa?
Yeah. So some examples I have, like going back to like PlayStation One. Me and my best friend, we had when we were playing like the original Destruction Derby, when you would have like the races, and everyone does this in a racing game where we drive backwards and just
Yeah.
get in wrecks because it's fun. But we would like find these specific points in the map where we could create the most fucking chaos and destruction,
Yes, I did the
and we
same
would
thing.
sit there. Okay, so see, yeah,
Yeah.
we're on the same page about all this shit.
Yeah.
So we would find these like this cool place, like there would be a huge jump in a map or a huge like ramp, and we would sit at the end of it and we would
Yeah.
try to hit cars as they were coming off the edge of it and
Yeah.
make them go fucking flipping and flying. And
Or a choke point. There'd be like choke points, and you put your car sideways.
yeah, exactly. And so another example is that this is the most random pull of my whole entire list here is ESPN Extreme Games for the PS1. And I don't know why. I don't know why I loved that game back in the day. But me and my friend had this whole thing, and I don't even remember the narrative behind it. But we would just pick certain characters, and we would just like all we would do is go after them when we were playing the game. Like we created this whole narrative in our heads of this is a person that needs to get the shit beat out of them, and that's all we would do is go through the entire race and try to find these specific people and like knock them off their skateboard or whatever it is. And like it wasn't even about winning the game; it was just preventing them from fucking getting to the finish line. That's all we cared about is like punching them off their little luge boards or whatever the fuck it was. Their fucking skateboard, and so their bicycle, like kicking them off into a fence. That's all we did was like this one guy. I don't know what he did to us, but he needs to fucking pay and fuck this guy because he has a purple helmet or whatever. And we would just kick him off to the side of the road, and that's all we did was just like we just want to destroy these people. So, do you have any other random examples?
Well, kind of something like that. I love, like, as a wrestling fan, I've always loved the Royal Rumble. I've always loved the concept of like throwing people over something or off of something or into something. So like when you play certain games, like I'm thinking right now off the top of my head, like the original Streets of Rage games, like Streets of Rage 2, they would have like pits in those side-scrolling fighter type games, those beat 'em ups, and you could punch people into pits. So I was always obsessed with like suplexing someone off so that they fall into the pit or something like that. You know what I mean? And that was like my thing. Like some people go nuts for like elevator levels. Like they love the levels where like people drop down. But for me, it's like, it's second I see a pit or like a wall, or you're on top of a building and there's a ledge, I want to throw people or things off of it. I don't know what's wrong with me to think about that stuff, but I like that. I like pushing people off a mountaintop. Like I do it to Magnum when we play Red Dead. I'll try and like knock him off his horse so he falls off the cliff or something like that, like purposely. And it's just
Well, but my angle on that is like I like the ragdollness of it. Like
right.
I like when things ragdoll. So I like to throw someone off the side of a building and watch their body hit like 10 things on the way down and ragdoll out and flip flop, and then I'm like, oh shit, oh. And so like like that's how I've been in a lot of games too. Like anything where I can like kick someone off a ledge, like that's why I'm interested to get more farther into the new Assassin's Creed Odyssey, where you have that Sparta kick where you can like, this is Sparta, and you just kick a motherfucker off a ledge and watch his body flop down on some shit. Like I'm all about that stuff. Where if I can throw you through some like random things and your body's gonna ragdoll out, I'm all about that. Like anything that'll let me do that. Like I enjoyed the original, like the flat out games, because you could like launch your driver through the fucking window and have him just fucking hit a tree, and that shit's funny because it's just I just want to see this random comedy. It's just hilarious to me. Like it's absurd, cartoonish, like Looney Tunes bullshit, where you just knock your character off something and he flops down and his head hits 20 things on the way down, and it's so absurd and over the top that it's hilarious.
Well, that's what makes Red Dead so funny sometimes, is the horses and crashing and like just seeing stuff happens. Like those are the funniest things.
That is the absolute best part of that game, is the horse crashes.
Yeah.
Bar none. That is the best part of that game.
Like I know we complain and say like the horses can't, like they're shit. You're crashing into a tree, you're falling off it all the time, but it's hilarious when it happens.
Yeah. And so another example I have from back in the day, when I used to play Mario Kart 64 with my friends, we had this one thing that we would do where we played the battle mode, but we would pick that. I can't even remember the name of the level. I should have looked it up beforehand. It was like a square arena. It was like a blocky thing where you had like three levels.
Yeah.
It was all like square block based, and you would go up these ramps, and there was like three levels of it. Well, we would all stay around on the floor, so it was basically like a 4 point race. We would make our own races around the bottom of this arena, and what you would do is when you picked up different weapons as you went around the corners, you would drop off like the fake, like upside down question mark blocks or banana peels or whatever. And then when you came around the corner, you tried to fire off your turtle shells, like your green turtle shells or whatever. And so you would try to make them, you would try to fire them as straight as possible, so you make them bounce back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
So you could be coming around the corner, and you might get hit by it, and you wouldn't know it. But so when you had enough people and you kept doing this, like it would eventually get so fucking convoluted and complex. Like going into the different turns around this square-based arena, like you never knew what you're going to fall into. Like there might be so many of these banana peels and like fake blocks that you might just have to run into them, or somebody ram you into them, or you could come around the corner and there would be a fucking green turtle shell that hit you. And we would try to see how long we could survive in these parameters. Like, you know, it's basically like when you lost all your balloons, it's last man standing. It was the ultimate point of Battle Royale. We just weren't fighting each other. We just made this weird, like, race thing where we just all went in circles around this one parameter, and we would put out the things in the corners and fire the turtle shells off. And so it was this weird random game type we made up. That was like just a riff on the battle system and like your typical Mario Kart game. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. No, because everything would collect on the bottom. There was two levels that were like that. There's the one you're talking about. I think it was like double deck or something, and then there was the like fort one, where there's like 4 forts, but if you fell to like the very bottom, all the shells and everything are down there. So I could see how difficult.
It would and we would stay on the we would stay on the bottom, and so we would just put everything in the 4. It was a weird thing, and it was kind of stupid, but it was fun. It was the one thing we did randomly just to make our own unique fun out of it. So any other examples you got?
Oh, I got a whole bunch.
All right, let's go.
I know this was your topic, and at first I was like, I don't know if I got anything, but oh yeah, I got stuff. Okay, so we're talking about Nintendo 64, so I got 2 good ones here. So the first one I'll start with is Perfect Dark. So in Perfect Dark, they had bots in it. So that was like a huge change from GoldenEye, because GoldenEye didn't have bots. So what we would do...
Oh boy, Golden Dark is quite the topic. GoldenEye Perfect Dark is
Golden
like,
Dark.
Oh man. Yeah, Golden Dark.
When you ran the 2 cartridges together, it's a brand new game. So they had Dark Sims and Perfect Dark, and Dark Sims were like the hardest bots that you can pick. Basically, the second they saw you, you were getting shot by them. So we created a mode called Aliens. So it was based on like the Aliens franchise. And what we would do is it'd be the 4 of us, 1-hit kill, lasers only. So you had like the watch laser. And if you remember from that game, every weapon, well, most weapons had 2 firing modes. So with the watch laser, you had like the regular laser that would shoot out. And then you had kind of like, we just called it like the lightsaber. So you're shooting out like a beam from it, basically. So what we would do is we'd put in, usually 1 Dark Sim was enough. Sometimes if we really wanted to challenge, we would have like 2 or 3. But because there's 1-hit kills on, the second the Dark Sim sees you, you're dead. You don't even know where the fuck it is, and you're dead. So that's why we call it like Aliens mode, because it would just like, boom, attack you and die. So what we would do is we'd pick certain levels that would have rooms with only 1 entrance. And the whole idea was to try and stay in the room as long as possible. So what we would do is one person would reach the room. They would hide behind one wall, and they would put the beam out from their watch to block the door, so that if the Dark Sim would come in, it would die instantly, but it would act as kind of like it would act as like defense, so that like people could come in, you could shut it off, and they could run through, and then you'd put it up again so the alien thing couldn't come in. So, so the comedy came from when you got killed, you're spawning somewhere else in the map, and you have to run back to this room to safety while this fucking dark sim's chasing you down. You can't even see it, and on the map it has like the blip, and it could almost have like the aliens blip when they're like seeing where the aliens are moving, like the blip, bloop, 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 when it's on you, basically. So it's similar to that, and you're running to the room, and to get into the room, we would always make a password. And of course, someone would always fucking forget the goddamn password, right? So they'd run and they'd be coming up and be like, oh, I don't know the password. And then they'd just die because they didn't put the laser off. You've just walked through a laser and died. And you're like, fuck, I got to run back to the goddamn room now. So now,
how does someone not know the password? You're all playing on the one console. You can just tell your friend what the fuck.
No. It's panic. Everyone's panicking. Like everyone, like we played this mode last year when I had everyone over, because we still play the 64. Everyone was fucking panicking and yelling at each other, like, "Where's the fucking room? Oh my god! Oh, I'm dead again. Where's the what's the password? Go ahead.
What did the password change every fucking 2 minutes? Like, is there one universal password? You'd be like, the password is fucking rape, and you just like say rape.
No, I don't know. It wasn't me that would forget the password, but eventually the password becomes fucking password. So you're just running up to the door like password, and then they shut it off and you get in. So it just causes this like hysteria, just from the stupid game mode. It's hilarious. It's funny.
I'm sorry. I love this. This is like probably one of the best aspects of this topic. But like, I don't understand how someone doesn't understand the password. Like, you're all sitting in a room together playing this game. You're like, guys, before we start this, we've established a password here. The password is password. How the fuck do you not know how to say password? I don't understand.
Well, the password became password. But we would always...
Did you change it every 2 minutes? Like, we're gonna cycle...
No.
Password. The password now is fucking dog. And like, or like, dog eats 1, 2, 4, 8, 7 cow corn.
That's
and like, what? Like, how complicated did it need to be?
We would make it complicated because it makes it funnier. So the password would be something like banana gun or something, like something stupid and random. So you'd be running up to the door and be like, banana, fuck, open the fucking thing, and then you'd be dead because the guy didn't put the thing down.
Well, that's not even that complicated. I'm literally just flabbergasted over here about how fucking simple. Like, how were you playing with special needs kids? Like, I don't understand why this is fucking a problem to get a fucking password. Like, how is this a problem to say one word or 2 words, even 3 words? If you get to 3 words, okay, then you're getting into like, I said the words in the wrong order. I don't understand how you can't just say 1 or 2 words. Banana gun. Like, how is that? How can you forget that? Even if you're stressed out, it's banana gun. Like, it doesn't make sense.
Okay.
I don't understand.
Okay, you're gonna have to play it with us or something, or just like get your buddies together and play it, and then you'll see. You won't know what's going on. You'll be stricken with fear. I swear to God.
Yeah,
I know it's funny. It's funny, but it's hilarious.
No, it's fucking hilarious. And honestly, that's fucking hilarious. But I don't understand how you can't memorize a few words. It's not like we're memorizing fucking launch codes for a nuclear launch. You know what I'm saying? Like, we need special. Like, we got to turn a key together, and we got to memorize Alpha 2 Tango 4 cow chicken. Like, I don't understand. Like, if it was that complicated, like, that would be funny. I don't understand how you can't memorize banana gun. It just doesn't make sense. But
I don't know.
All right. So the next thing I was going to bring up, this is kind of just a random thing I thought about lately. Just try to a more relaxed sort of example of this is like when I was playing The Crew. I played The Crew very briefly on PC. And that, you know, that's a racing game where you have all these objectives, and it's like an open world Ubisoft racing game. But my favorite thing to do in that game was literally just to drive around and listen to music. So I would just get in my car and like go into the first person like dash cam view and just like, because playing I played a lot of racing games on the 360. I used to love the 360 functionality, just being able to listen to your own music. Like, you put your CD in, you would rip your CD to the Xbox 360 hard drive,
Hmm.
and you could play any racing game and listen to the music you want to. You could do that with any game. And I used to love playing racing games, like listening to my own music, because it kind of got you into the flow of it.
Hmm.
And so I remember playing the Crew just a handful of times, like 2 or 3 times, where I would just, because that was a huge open world game, and all I wanted to do in that game was just like, I'm gonna drive from New York to California, and just like, I'm gonna try not to get any wrecks. So I tried to like drive like more like you would in real life, where you weren't trying to like speed, but I would like try to like drive faster than normal, but still try to kind of obey the traffic laws, or at least not try to get in any wrecks. And I would just listen to my music and like drink some beers or whatever else, and just like chill as I was like going across country, like making a cross country trip, and just listening to some tunes in my car. And so that was a thing I did for like a few nights, and that was just like a weird thing. Like, only that game would allow me to do that, because when I was growing up, when I was younger, I used to do that all the time, where I would get really high or something like that, and just drive around, because I lived in a small town, and I would go on some back roads and listen to music, and so that had a connection to me in that way. And so like, when I was playing that game, that was like my favorite thing to do in the Crew, was just to like drive. I don't know, man, I'm just gonna drive to California, and it's a fictional world. It's not like one to one, but it had a cool representation of the U.S. in the first Crew game. So that was a thing I did that was like weird outside the parameters of what the game rules were. So I'm gonna throw it to you for other something crazy that you did.
Okay. No, it's pretty cool that you like drove normally in a racing game. I think what was it, Fuel? I did that with Fuel, where I went from like one end to the other.
Yes, yes,
Yeah, that was
but they even
fun.
had achievements
Yeah,
for
they
that, where
did.
you
They
would get
did.
to
Yeah.
one part of the map to the other. Yeah, same thing. I did the same thing then, but it was fun. Like, I would get on a dirt bike and just be like, all right, I'm at this corner of the map. I'm gonna fucking take a dirt bike through all these fucking post-apocalyptic landscapes, and ramp some hills and jump some jumps, and I'm gonna be listening to my favorite bands along the way. And it was just a relaxing thing in a way, because there were no consequences to it. You know what I mean? There was no, even if in the Crew I got in a wreck, it's like, I don't know, you just keep going. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
it's one of those things where it's like, it's more of a relaxing thing in a way. Like, it wasn't even about just playing the game and like being in a race or anything. It was just like, this game lets me do this one weird thing that like is not the point of the game itself, but like, that's what I'm able to do within the parameters and the mechanics of the game. Like, and you can just play the Crew and just drive all around the world and not do anything of meaning, if that's what you wanted to do. I mean, that's, like I said, it's dumb, and that's not why I played it, or why I even wanted to play it. I played it as a racing game, but like I said, I loved how open it was, an open world racing game. So in between the things that you were supposed to do, you could just drive wherever. And so, yeah, I mean, it's like you said in what you call it, Fuel, where, yeah, you can just, maybe you're trying to achieve an achievement and you go off somewhere else. So another thing, riffing off that real quick, that I wanted to say was that, like, talking about Fuel, there was this. So the reason why I initially bought the first Dishonored game was because I mean, I saw it and it looked cool, and I was like, yeah, I'll probably pick that up and play it at some point. But the two things that made me buy that game day one was, I heard beforehand that there were two achievements, which were get through this game without being seen, and get through this game without killing anyone.
Hmm.
And when I heard that was a thing you could do in that game, and it was an achievement, I was like, I'm buying this. I'm buying this right now. That's how I'm going to play the game. And it's like this ultimate stealth mode thing, where, like, dude, trying to get through that game without being seen. And granted, I had to save scum the whole way through to do that. And I think I fucked up on the no, I think I fucked up on the not being seen one. There was one level I needed to go back to and redo it, and I just never did. But I made it through basically the entire game without being seen, except for the one level. And then I made it through the game without killing anyone, and that was an achievement. And so that was just a weird way, because I didn't use any of the abilities, any of the skills, that you needed. Even things that would have made that easier for me. Like I just wanted to play it. Like I used Blink, which is the thing where you can like teleport short range and stuff.
Mm.
But I didn't use any of the tools and aspects, and I just bought the game and played it for for those two achievements alone. And so that was my unique experience with that game, where I set these handicaps to myself, because you can get online, you can see all these videos of like people like really making this fucking symphony of destruction in that game, where they're using all the abilities, all the skills, all the different things, like blinking through stuff, throwing out random grenades, and like you can really actually do this really cool move sets on, as far as if you're just trying to take down enemies. But no, like I play that game not trying to fight anybody. I was a complete pacifist. I just wanted to be in the shadows. I wanted to play that game like ultimate stealth. And so that was my experience with the first Dishonored. And I played the second game, and I kind of try to play it that way for the most part. Even though I experimented more the second time, I didn't really want to get that strict as far as my play style. But that was like a weird way in which I played that game, and like I'm saying, most people that play Dishonored don't play it that way. So that's a unique experience. Did you play Dishonored at all?
I did. I don't have the patience for the stealth stuff. Like even in Metal Gear, I'm horrible at it. Like I try, but it's really tough. But I have a friend who actually got both of those achievements too, and he was telling me years ago like how hard it was, because you can accidentally kill somebody. Like they'll just fall or slip, or like you have their
Exactly,
body, you knock them out, and then you put
yeah,
them somewhere, and then they like die because they fell.
yeah, exactly, and that's what I'm saying. Like it was insanely difficult to try to play that way. And like I said, I didn't get the one for not being seen, or I can't remember not killing someone. I don't remember, but it was one of the two of those, because, like I said, I fucked up at one level. But yeah, like you could hide a body somewhere, and maybe there would be rats that would come and eat it,
Yeah,
like
I
because it
remember.
was
Yeah.
so, so there were different parameters. Like you could throw it off into the water somewhere, and maybe some like fish or whatever would come by and eat the body, and then that would count as a kill. So it was really crazy. Like you had to keep moving forward in a way to where like the game wouldn't store those bodies
Hmm.
somewhere. You know what I mean? Because like I said, with the rats were the biggest problem, where they would come through and eat a body that was just like hidden somewhere. So you could just like dump a body in a dark corner somewhere, with maybe rats are going to come by and eat it. Yeah, so and especially toward the end of the game, as far as like not being seen, when you had these huge like mechanical thing, like almost Strider looking things that were like roaming through the environment, like trying to avoid those fucking things and trying to figure out clever ways that you could avoid them without being seen was fucking crazy. And so you just had to find like clever way. You almost had to bullshit your way through certain levels, like where you would just almost break the game in a sense, not really break it, but just like do things that out completely outside the realm of what you would normally do if you were playing that game.
Hmm. But
Uh,
they probably built the game to have that in it too. You know what I mean?
yeah. I mean, if you're gonna
So
have those achievements, yeah,
yeah.
if you're if you're gonna make a stealth game, like these are the people that came off making like Thief and stuff like that. Like they're making stealth games for like the ultimate shadow dudes that want to play this game. Like I'm not gonna be seen or heard from. I'm not gonna kill anybody. I exist in the shadows. You know what I mean? So
Hmm.
there's that, and that's how I typically play a lot of stealth games. Getting into a sort of side topic here, as far or not side topic, but just breaching out into the sort of mechanics of some of these stealth games, because I like them. I don't play a ton of them. I wish I would have gotten more invested in the Splinter Cell games back in the day. I played a little bit of Thief and some other stealth games, but yeah, there's certain games where I'll challenge myself on. I just want to do the ultimate like I don't use any of these like so mechanically things that I restrict myself on as far as getting into like the handicapping part of this topic is like I'll restrict myself as far as certain games and what I can do. So like even in Dishonored, there's like a thing where you can like see through walls, so you can see the enemies through walls, and I never use that stuff. I hate it. Like I won't use that stuff in any game. I won't use any mechanics or skills that let me see through walls. I won't use anything that lets me tag enemies. Like I hate the tagging enemies, especially in like stealth games, because it basically just lets you just sit there and wait until someone walks out a doorway.
Hmm.
Like you always know where a enemy is, even if they walk into a room that you can't see. Like I like treating it as like it's a completely realistic scenario, and if I let this dude walk into this room, like I I can't know where he's at. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't know. He might walk back out. He might walk across the room, go out the other side. But it's up to me to adapt and sort of improvise on what the scenario is. Because like other than that, like if you tag an enemy and you're sitting in a little triangle, there's a little dot above their head, then you always know where they are, and then you're just playing in easy mode at that point. You know what I'm saying? And I can't stand that shit. Like I don't want to play any game. Like I think that's the way most people play through these games when they just give you when the game presents these mechanics and options to them up front. And I feel like this is a thing that's like kind of ruins stealth games and a lot of these, or the stealth mechanics of a lot of games, where you can just tag enemies and you see where they're at. Times like I like the random element of just like I'm going into this building and like I saw this guy, I saw this guy, I saw that, and if I didn't kill them, that was I wanted like I'll sit up on a rooftop and look and see like maybe how many guys there are, and then I try to go in and I try to adapt, improvise, and overcome, as the meme goes. But like I like that sort of random element to it, and like I said, I'll save scum, but like I don't want to just know where every enemy is, because in real life, if you were like really trying to stealthily take this shit, like you wouldn't have those same options. You know what I mean? And so I try to make these like stealth games like even more realistic than they really are sometimes, because I want that like random, like I need to just be listening to the sounds and the stuff around me, the environment, and like I want to just like sort of slowly creep up, and I know this guy might walk out this door and I can grab him real quick, and I can hide his body and then go back in. But I'm not just going to sit there on a rooftop and be like, all right, I'm just going to tag all these enemies, and then this guy's going to walk out the door and I'm just going to shoot him in the head. And then, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't like to play games that way. So any game this has been a trend in gaming, I think, for the last 6-7 years, where they've just made, even going back to like things like the original The Last of Us, where like Joel for some reason has some like kind of Sonic I can see through walls effect. I'm like, why would I use that in this game? Like it doesn't make sense in relation to all the other mechanics and things that you've set up. And so I just don't use mechanics that are tagging enemies, or I can see through walls. Anything that makes it super easy and super gamified, I don't use that. So what about you?
I'll do it in some games. So like the Batman games, I don't mind doing like using the I can't remember what it is, but it's like the visor to kind of see through the wall a little bit. I don't mind doing that stuff, because I feel like, well, Batman has the technology, he would do that. You know what I mean? To his advantage.
Yeah, exactly. But that's that's contextual, and that feels like it would be in character. That's in the spirit of Batman. Yeah.
But we played in the past year Ghost Recon, Tom Clancy's Ghost Recon, and that's a prime example of a game where you can literally just throw your remote control thing, I forget what it's called, a drone, up in the air and tag everything, and then sit up on the hill and snipe people. And yeah, it is kind of boring. It is. It's kind of silly. I like the map. I like knowing, like, if someone's coming, like it shows like red that somebody's going to attack you, whatever. But I don't really care for the tagging. Like, here he is. There's an arrow right above his head. Like, I don't like that crap. But I think that stuff started. Like the first time I ever saw it was one of the Battlefield games years and years and years ago, where you tagged people. It might even been before that.
I'm glad you brought that up, because that was the thing I was going to eventually talk about, was Ghost Recon, because I played that with my best friend, and he's the person that I made up all this weird random gameplay handicaps and mechanics and just weird rules that we would do, and so we had played Ghost Recon Wildlands on PC together. We had been playing that for about a year on and off, and yeah, we did that thing where we turned the HUD completely off. We turned all the enemy tagging. We played that game like legit, like realistic. Like we're fucking two motherfucking, fucking Navy SEALs, motherfuckers, like sneaking in. Like we're crawling on our bellies. We're going in. We're gonna post up on this cliff, and we're gonna look at and take in all the the environment, find all the enemies, and like adjust our method of approach based on the knowledge that we had at the time. We're not gonna we don't want to see who's alerted, who's coming in on this. Like we want to have to play it like if we were real people doing this shit. Like we're trying to make it the most realistic game possible within the game's parameters by mostly just turning off everything. And so that's how we wanted to play the game. And it's, it can be redundant, and you could like spend like hours trying to take over one base. Whereas if you just use the gameplay mechanics that the game wants you to use, you can just beat it in like 15 minutes at most. And so we would, but that's a thing that we would do. I mean, that's where we found the fun in the game for us, is because the game had all these deep mechanics and systems and abilities to customize our HUD, and we can turn this and that off. And so we could eventually make the game we wanted to play versus the game that maybe even the developers or the average person would play. And so it's a different experience than what those people would have versus what we had, because we were trying to play like ultra hardcore. I mean, even in the last year, like toward the end of the year, they added this ultra hardcore mode where like if you die, your character resets basically, like all your skills and everything you unlocked. So that was like but that's like a completely different level that we weren't even trying to play on. We were just trying to make it like we were like for real Navy SEALs, like rolling in on this base, and we want to take it like ultra serious. You know what I mean? Like where every kill mattered. Anytime we took someone out, like we had to make sure that like they couldn't be seen by anybody else, or we could hide the body. And so we played it that way. But I'm saying I don't think that's most people's experience with that game. And so, like I said, that's just kind of a weird twist on like how me and him play games sometimes, and how if a game creates these parameters or these options enough where you can have your own fun within it, then you can almost make your own game within a game. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. And we did that with Twisted Metal Online, Twisted Metal Black.
Yeah, yeah. So that's the last thing. Not the last thing necessarily, but one of the other things to move into is our connected history with Twisted Metal Black Online, and that community and the game types we made within that. Like, because that game was just a straight death match. It's like a free for all death match game, and there were different. I mean, it actually had a lot of options that you could do back then that were really fun. Like everyone just plays this one car, or they had relics, and they had like you could restrict it to different. Couldn't you even restrict it as like there's things like power missile only match. You could play like manslaughter with power missiles only, and that would be the parameters, right? Don't you remember that?
Yeah, there's like it wasn't amazing, but there was enough options there to kind of throw out these like handicaps or different game modes, because we even came up with like last man standing. And to give some context to listeners, Twisted Metal Black Online was on PS2, and you had to get the network adapter separately to like connect to your PlayStation to get online. And when you were in the lobby, there was no chat, there was nothing. You couldn't communicate with anybody. And then one of the people who worked on the game actually leaked us a code that you could punch in when you were in a lobby room, and it would unlock a hidden chat function. And that blew the game wide open for us, because now we could all communicate. Because before we were all communicating on the Twisted Metal Alliance website, and then going online to play together, and weren't talking. Like we weren't using like Skype or anything. Like we weren't talking. So when we had the chat room, that's when it blew up, because then we could start talking and saying like, okay, let's do this, let's do that. So when we developed modes like Last Man Standing, then you could communicate like, okay, you can only use these cars, and this is how many lives you get, and this is what happens. These are the teams if we did team games like Team LMS and stuff like that. So the chat room, if we didn't have that, I don't think a lot of the creativity in game modes that were created out of it would have happened. Like we also had Protect the King, which was, it's hard to explain, but it was a team-based thing where each team had a king, and they had like a queen, a jack, I forget what the roles were, but basically only those people could fight each other, and you had to end up like killing the king or whatever.
It was basically like a card game rules. Like you had a king, queen, jack,
Ace, I
Oh, was
think,
there an
or
ace? Was there an
Joker.
ace?
I forget. I
Or
forget.
it was Joker. It was Joker, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Wasn't
something
Joker
like
like the
that.
one thing? And there's like pawns that were like the basic people. Yeah, I didn't play it that much because every time the guys had those game types set up for certain times, I was unable to play. So I only experienced that a few times. How many times did you play it with them? Did you play it much?
Um, it was in like the back end of like my career in that game. Like I played that game for about 5 years. 3 years was like almost all the time, and then year 4 and 5 was like off and on here and there. And it was in like I think like the end of year 3, maybe beginning of 4 when that Protect the King mode came in. So I don't remember it too well. And like if we had Rhodey on, like Rhodey would like tell us all about it because I think he actually like masterminded it or at least was like integral to creating that
Yeah,
game mode.
I don't remember where it came from.
But
And I
it's
don't,
so
there,
complex. It's
we're
just a
gonna
complex
have
mode.
yeah, yeah. At some point, we're gonna have a deep, rich history about the history of Twisted Metal Black Online. But one thing I want to say too is that like so back then there was no options for team play. It was all
Yeah.
free for all. So you had to, if you had your clan, if you had your group, and you were gonna go off against another group, like you had to just like restrict yourselves to like not attacking other gamer tags or other people that were on your quote unquote team.
Yeah, because
You know what I
things would
mean?
lock
So
on. Things would lock on to anybody.
yeah, exactly. You had these like homing missiles and all this other stuff that would lock onto
Specials.
enemies. So you had to play restricted and reserved automatically, and then on top of that, when you start layering on these different rules, well, then that just made it that much more complicated. Because I remember, in the early days when people tried to make clans, even though there's no clan functionality, there's no team functionality in that game, we would all like try to roll together and you would just try not to fire off weapons that might hit your teammates. And it was a back and forth. Like sometimes it worked out, but sometimes it didn't, because the game parameters didn't allow that. So we created all these in-depth game types and modes and stuff that had nothing to do with what the original intent of the game was.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was what was crazy about it.
Now,
Even just thinking about it in terms of like two teams, like a team deathmatch. Because even sometimes you would get a bunch of TMA people on, and we would all just have this like unwritten rule. We're not like going to fight each other, and we just team up on all these other people, and they wouldn't know what's going on. You know what I mean? Like they had no chance. But like that, but that's what we just did because that was the platform we were given. These were the parameters and options that we were given, and we tried to make the best of it.
mhm. So if I'm remembering correctly, wasn't like Team Last Man Standing the one where it was only like people were dueling, and then when you're almost dead, you would go back and tag in one of your teammates. So your teams were like in a certain area, they weren't fighting, and you had to basically like a wrestling match go to that corner and tag in somebody else to come in and fight whoever.
Yeah. There were different. Like I said, I don't want to get too in the weeds with Twisted Metal because we're gonna have an in-depth conversation about that in the future. But yeah, there was something like that. I
But
mean, I
that's
think there
crazy.
was. Yeah. No. It's insane. And like I said, this just gets back to what we're talking about of like making up our own game modes, our own parameters within the confines of what the developers put out there. And so another thing, just real quick, that I meant to mention earlier, as far as a thing that me and my best friend did when we were playing games, is we would do what's called going crazy. So this spawned from the original Halo when we would be playing co-op as two-player co-op in Halo, the original Halo, and we after we got through the game, we used to play the game co-op just like every day. We would just blow through certain levels, the entire campaign just over and over again. And so eventually we would start making these like rule sets and different things we would do just to have fun. And one of them was what we called going crazy. And so like it would almost be like this thing where we would be going through an environment, we would be getting into shootouts, and one of us would die. And then so the rule was that like if your teammate died, if your bro died, you would have to go into berserk mode, and we call that going crazy. So you would have to like just like go crazy. You would have to move forward and just like be completely aggressive instead of playing like tactically and trying to hide back. Because in Halo you could like drop back eventually if you ran back far enough in the level, you could spawn your teammate back in. So you could like leapfrog and have your teammates in there all the time. If you just drop back far enough every time your teammate died. But we just made this rule where it's like, no, that's too easy. Like if you die, if your teammate dies, if your bro dies, you got to move forward. It's called going crazy. You go into berserk mode and you just go absolutely berserk and you start killing motherfuckers and you try to see how long you can survive. And most of the times you didn't, like 90% of the time you didn't survive it because you're just being a complete fucking retarded idiot playing the game at that point. Because you're just like, running in and like shooting people and like shotguns and throwing grenades and I'm going to kill as many motherfuckers as I can before I die. And then that became like a thing where we carried that sometimes throughout the years. Like every once in a while, we'll just be playing a co-op game randomly, and one of us will die and be like, we'll be like, time to go crazy, bro. And then the other guy will just go crazy where he's like, all right, I know what that means. And we just the other guy has to fucking move in and not like try to preserve, like not try to save the situation, like not try to preserve it for the fact that like I'm trying to get through this. Or I want you to respawn with me. Like, nah, bro, you got to go in, and if like whatever happens. Maybe if we have to play this situation or this scenario over like 10 times, it's fine. But like, it's just a fun thing we do every now and then. Mm-hmm. So that's just like another weird thing. Do you have anything like that with your friends where you have like this like common thing that you all do when you play a game together?
Yeah, we sort of did. It's, I don't know. I'd have to think more about it. But I have like another example of something that like a bunch of us did together in a game called Total Annihilation. It was an RTS game back in the mid 90s. So basically what that game was all about was just pumping out all these robotic units and mashing them into like a demolition derby, and just explosions and pieces of them are flying all over the place. So the game had a unit cap of 500 units, and you think like, okay, 500, that's a lot. When you actually see it on screen, it's not that much. Everything's kind of overlapping, it's just together. So if you can kind of think of like StarCraft and you have all like the Zergs and the Zerglings running around and stuff, it would look like that, but just a lot more units on the screen. So what we wanted to do is we wanted more units, and you could patch it, and you can actually go into like the files and change the unit cap. So we would change it to like 1,500 units. And back in 1997, our computers could barely handle like 1,500 units. So what we would keep doing every few years is we would have a LAN, and we would fire up Total Annihilation and increase the unit cap to like 5,000, and let's see what happens. And eventually it gets to the point where the computer can't handle all these units on the screen at once, and it would like shut your computer down, or the game would freeze, or something crazy would happen. And we actually did this a few years ago on modern day computers, and we bumped it up to like 10,000 units. And of course the game breaks. The game's breaking because the game itself cannot handle, like it can't render this many things I on
love
the screen,
because you're just literally trying to fucking break it and add chaos to it.
But that's what I'm all about. I'm very much an agent of chaos. I like to see like, where can we break this? How can we glitch this? Like, let's see how far this will go before it gets fucked. And Total Annihilation is one of those like science experiments that we do just to see, like, can we get this many units? I don't care how long it takes to build them. Like, we can let the game run for an hour and 2 hours until we get this many units. I don't care. And then just mash them together and see if the like computer just explodes in our house. But like, that's it's just like a funny thing that we did.
That's weird, because I remember letting this is tangentially related to what you're saying, but I remember used to having I would build this base in these units in Command and Conquer on the PlayStation 1, and I would just leave the console on for days, like letting my base just like sit there and like hold its own and like generate like funds and stuff like that. So I would have a campaign running for like days. And it wasn't even about like actually playing it at a certain point. It was just like about, well, this is what I got to do to keep this fucking base going. You know what I mean? It's like almost like a mobile game.
I was going to say,
where you where you step away from and you come back or something like that. But yeah, no, continue, because your story is way more interesting than mine. This is funny.
Well, it's like it doesn't go any further than that. It's just basically when we did it a couple years ago, like the computer could handle it. It's the game. The game itself cannot handle it anymore. And there's been games that are the successor of Total Annihilation, like the Supreme Commander series and Planetary Annihilation, which both games to me aren't as good as the original one, but those ones have like hard level or hard unit caps, so you can't go over a certain amount. I don't know. It's a nostalgic thing. We all love the Total Annihilation game, so it's just funny to fire it up and like let's see how many units we can get going on modern day computers. So I hope to continue this and do it again in like another 10 years, and then 30 years from now, let's see if we can go even further. If it's even possible, if the game will even run on those computers at all.
Well, is that an actual thing that can happen? I mean, I guess it is, but like I was just thinking, like the most recent example, like literally from today, that came to my story about how Beat Saber players and Steam VR are like Steam had to update their VR thing because like people gotten so good that the game couldn't keep up. Like the peripherals of the VR couldn't keep up with how fast players can move, so they had to like update it just to keep up with the fact that like people have gotten so good at it. So like it's kind of what you're talking about. Like technology evolves. Like I've heard stories of like technology evolving, or like people bringing over a game to a specific, or you know they've updated their computer or whatever, and it makes the game run faster and different, and so it almost changes the gameplay experience.
Hmm. Yeah, there's just like random variables that you don't account for, and usually it's like man-made, right? Like the man can do whatever they want and come up with anything. Like the game is only set to do this, but usually you can push it a bit further, and that's kind of what we've been talking about, like the different game modes and handicapping yourself and restricting stuff and whatever. So it's you make your own fun. You test and do science projects and stuff like that.
But I think that's the I don't know. Do you have anything else to add? Because I kind of have a final point about this that I wanted to make. So, is there anything else you want to talk about in this space?
No, you go ahead, and then I'm going to recommend a game mode.
Okay, so what I was going to say is like the ultimate achievement of this entire topic to me is that the fact that like or what's fun about like this topic and doing this in games, and why I think a lot of people want to do this is like in real life a lot of people like we want to test the boundaries, we want to test the parameters of game system and things. Sometimes you want to handicap yourself, sometimes you want to like discipline yourself. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, I could go out and eat cheeseburgers every day of the week because they would taste good, but no, I want to restrict myself because that's not beneficial to me. You know what I'm saying? Like, you want to do things to make yourself a better person, or to have a different experience with life. And so like, it's fun with video games where you can like mess around within the parameters of what the developers have set for you. And sometimes those things are almost more fun than what the developers intended, in and of themselves. I mean, because we certainly made more fun with Twisted Metal Black Online than the developers ever intended that game to be. So that's kind of the beauty of games overall, though. Like, that's what's fun about games. Like, I can watch a movie over and over again, and maybe I can take certain things away from the story elements of it or the acting or whatever. But like, that's just one. It's a static thing. It's only one thing. But this is why games are fun, because like my experience with a game can be completely different from yours, and some of that can be based around the people that I'm playing with and the things that we come up with to do within those parameters.
Yeah, you should tour around North America and preach that message. It's very nice.
Yep. I am the gospel. I am the preacher. I am the Lord and Savior of gaming, and that's what we're gonna tell everybody moving forward. We are the new and the ghost of gaming. That's what we are. We're gonna tell you how to think. We're gonna tell you how to believe. We're gonna tell you what you need to know. We're gonna tell you the experiences you need to have with these games. Because right now, what we're doing, people, we're telling you experience you can have outside of the games as they are presented to you. Why should you have the experiences the developers want? That's bourgeois. That's fucking bullshit. You want to have some real experiences? Well, have the experiences we're telling you can have. Experiment, play around. Don't do the things that everyone wants you to do. If you live your life the way everyone wants you to live it, if you live your life the way all these developers tell you should live in these video games, oh, you gotta go to this waypoint here and do this next story point objective. Why? Why? No, I don't have to do that. I can go off and fucking run my horse off a cliff for 3 hours. That's more fun because why shouldn't it be? If I want to go fishing in this game, why shouldn't I do that? If I want to create, a password system with my friends where they can't remember the passwords, that seems more fun. You know what I mean? Your friends can't remember 3 words. That seems more fun. But that's what you can do. That's what you need to do. And so that's the beauty of video games, is you can do whatever you want with them. And sometimes you can be dumb, and sometimes it can be fulfilling and life changing. But that's the platform that video games provide. All right, so we're moving into the email section here. You can email us at, let me see, let me pull it up, bastardsgamingnetwork@gmail.com. You can also contact us on the Facebook group. We're going to get some more things up and running here in the next few weeks, as far as Twitter and other places that you will be able to contact us and reach out to us. But for right now, we've had people reaching out to us personally and on the gaming, the Bastards Gaming Network at gmail.com. So I'm going to throw it to you, and you can read first email received this week.
Okay, so the artist formerly known as Phil asks if people really did play Twisted Metal because it was such a lackluster game.
I don't know if he's trolling or if he's just playing off the fact that we have a nostalgia and a deep lore and love for fucking Twisted Metal. It's hard to say what this guy is, what his intent is, but just reading that, I mean, look, I understand. The Twisted Metal games came out at a different time. Car Combat was an old man's game. You know what I'm saying? But that was it's kind of one of those things like with chess and stuff like that. Like, that's a high man thinking game, but, you're not seeing people out here on the street corners playing chess anymore. You know what I'm saying? It's not for the high thinking man. You know what I mean? Maybe it's played in some back corners of some bars or whatever here and there. Maybe if you know a guy that you know where to play some chess anymore, because people are just dumb now. They don't play intelligent games. They don't play games that basically make you smarter, make you better as a human being. So people didn't play Twisted Metal back in the day because it's not a thing anymore. But if you missed it, then that's too bad on you. And if you played it back then and you didn't like it, I mean, you just weren't really grasping the deeper concepts about what that game was trying to do, and you didn't understand how fucking complex and important and in depth that game was. And so that's why that game ultimately died out, because you have games like Fortnite now. People are playing Fortnite. This is some dumb shit. This is some dumb cartoon shit. Like, you guys don't know what fucking what deep games are, and so this is just where we trended toward as a society. And music shit now, movies are shit now, and that's because people just like dumb shit. And so if you didn't play Twisted Metal, or you played it now in retrospect and you're like, this is some dumbass shit, this is cars driving around shooting off missiles, well, I mean, I'm sorry that you didn't understand the context of which it came out, and I'm sorry that you don't understand greatness and you don't understand quality and important shit. Like, you don't understand higher level thinking. You don't understand higher level mechanics. You don't understand how all these cars and their specials and their abilities, they transcend. They're basically where we have arrived with games now, where we have MOBAs, where we have things like Overwatch, where things have Apex Legends, where they're basically riffing off the same thing. You have characters, and they have their certain specials and abilities. People were doing that back in the 90s, folks. Okay, we were already ahead of the game back then. And if you weren't a part of that then, well, then it sucks for you. But I can't tell you to understand greatness. You know what I'm saying? I can't make you understand it. I can't. I could teach you if you want to learn. But if you just play Twisted Metal and you're like, this is dumb because the graphics are fucking dumb, bro. Like, well, then guess what? You're fucking stupid and you don't know shit. So what do you think?
Yikes. Well, first thing I would ask is, like, did you play Twisted Metal 3, 4, or Head On, which were like the shittiest games not made by the correct Twisted Metal developers? Because like I can understand why you thought they were lackluster. But if you played like Twisted Metal 1, Twisted Metal 2, Black, what else is
Yeah,
there?
if you went back to Twist Metal Black, you're like, why isn't Rob Zombie in this shit? Well, you
Yeah.
played the wrong games, bro.
Yeah. And sorry, like if you played the remake that was out in 2012, like that was garbage. So like I'm sorry. Like
Well,
I
that
guess
wasn't really a remake. That was just a reimagining in a way.
reboot, whatever. I don't know. I don't even want to call it. But basically I owned that game for 2 weeks and then I went and traded it in. And I've never done that with like any game I've ever owned. Because it was crap. So
Yeah,
maybe
same.
maybe he played one of these ones. Phil, you know what? That's maybe was a decent question. I don't know which game you played.
And this one's for actually you, Cynther. This
Oh.
guy wrote in. This one is for you. He says, Tommy Gunther writes, last week you mentioned your love for fighting games. Since MK11, Mortal Kombat 11 is coming out soon. If you could be any character in the Mortal Kombat franchise, who would you be?
Did this person like listen to last week? I said clearly like I don't like fighting games. Like
Yeah, no. Again, I can't tell if they're trolling or if they're just a fucking idiot. Like I don't really know who we're dealing with. Like I
oh
mean,
god.
yeah, like I said, there's so many fucking idiots in this world. Like so,
Okay, so
I don't know.
fine.
Do you have
Okay.
to answer it?
Yeah, okay, I got an answer. Okay, I'm gonna do top three. Okay, number three, the Xenomorph, because he was DLC. I think in number 10, even though he's not like a canon character. Fuck it. Number three is the
I don't even know who
Xenomorph.
the fuck that is. What the fuck are you talking about?
The Xenomorph, the aliens.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he was in
okay,
it because they had like Freddy Krueger and Jason
Okay, yeah, yeah.
and Leatherface,
Yeah,
whatever.
well,
So
those are clearly the best characters.
they are.
Any of
They
that
are.
shit.
Yeah,
Anything that's
absolutely.
not a Mortal Kombat character is the best character in the Mortal Kombat
It is.
game. Clearly.
I almost thought of saying
'Cause-
like the Ninja Turtles, but that was in Injustice.
Yeah, well, yeah. Well, anything that's not a Mortal Kombat character is the best Mortal Kombat character.
Well, I'm going to prove you wrong in a second here. Okay, number two, I would say Shiva because she has 4 arms and it'd be nice to touch myself in every spot on my body to do whatever it is I'm going to do as like as a Goro 4-armed thing. But number one, I would say probably Sub-Zero because Sub-Zero is badass. I know people like Scorpion, but Sub-Zero is my man.
Yeah, but I mean,
Number
why
two,
would you
Sub-Zero
wanna be
number
him?
2. Why? I don't know because I like being cold. It'd be cool to have my arms turn to fucking ice. I don't know how I would move my arms around
Yeah,
and do
I
stuff.
don't know
but
how that's practical at all.
I don't
How
know.
that,
You know, I don't know how
I
it
don't know
works
how
in
it
the
would
nether
benefit
realm.
your life. Yeah, I don't know how that would benefit your life in any way to be
don't know.
Sub-Zero.
I
I mean, maybe you could freeze dry some fucking meats and hold on to them for a while.
maybe,
Like I
yeah.
don't really know what you could do. I mean, I just you live in Canada already. I don't like.
But
Are you
I
not
can't.
already living
No.
in sub?
But
Sub,
but
you
I
know,
can't control the ice. Like I'd be able to fly and skate around like Iceman from X-Men. You know
so
what I
like
mean?
when the avalanche is gonna take over your house, you could freeze it.
Yeah, I could put myself in like
Yeah.
an ice bubble and be fine.
So like when the mooses come to like trample your home, you could just freeze them in place.
Yeah, but that wouldn't happen. You can ride them. They talk to you.
Yeah, I really don't understand what you would do with the ice ability. It doesn't make any sense to me. I mean, I was more on board with your Shiva, because if I was going to answer this question, I would say Goro because he has 4 hands,
Yeah, but-
and because you know
Well, does he have
he
4
probably has a
dicks?
huge. Yeah, because well, no, but he probably has a huge dick. Like I feel like Goro has a huge fucking piece, bro.
So what
Like,
he
he's
would
fucking
he would,
huge.
So he would use all 4 of his arms, and each hand would form like a quarter of a circle, and he would just go at it.
But
That's
it's
how
kind
big
of
it
like
is.
that. Did you see that scene in the Watchmen movie where Mr. Manhattan like does all this sexual shit to his wife?
Yeah.
It's fucking, and he's just like he's able to do everything she needs him to do. She rub her nipples, like
Mhm.
rub her neck, touch her vagina, like grab her wherever she needs to be grabbed. I mean, if you have 4 hands, dude, you're the ultimate lover. And especially if you're Goro and you have a huge dick, I mean, come on, like how is that not the ultimate?
Well, you're making an assumption that he has a huge wanger,
Yeah, I mean, I'm like I said, I'm just assuming that, but I just feel like he does.
but he's ugly.
But I'm
I know not everyone's into that. He's got abs, but he's ugly as F in the face, man.
yeah, I mean, but
He looks
I
like
feel
a giant penis.
But most girls like ugly chicks as long as they have like big wangers or 4 hands. I mean, that's from my experience. You know,
Okay. Your experience, eh? They've asked you specifically, man, I wish you had more arms and hands to touch me. And that's why it's not working out. You can't use your feet. Okay.
All right, let's move on to the next question.
All right. Next question is Gondor's Ultimate Warrior asks, how do you end Fortnite?
Well, I mean, I feel like Apex Legends is a move in the right direction. This is how
God.
you
You just keep
this is how
plugging
you
that
move
game.
people. This is a way you move away from baby frolics of Fortnite. This is how, because at a certain point, like you can only do the floss dance for so long. You know what I mean? Like how many times can you do that shit? How many times can you look like a fucking jack off doing the floss dance somewhere? Apex Legends doesn't have dances. They don't have emotes. I mean, there's some of them, but they're executions. So they're more along the lines of Mortal Kombat, where it's like you kill someone in a unique and cool way. So it's like this is how we bring people from this childish mentality into the realm of like adulthood, and it's just letting people play games that are not not for children like Fortnite. So what do you think?
I think it's a little bit more than that. Like you need to be a little more hands-on. So I'd say don't have kids because eventually the people
You
playing it now
you need to
will.
be a little Goro hands on.
Yes, you need to be all four hands-on. So yeah, don't have kids because eventually the player base will die down, and it's mainly for kids anyway, I think, and and
Yeah.
and people who
So
Twitch.
I mean, I've been doing my part. I don't have kids, so
So I guess you're good.
I'm not gonna have people growing up playing Fortnite. So
My daughter
I'm
might
doing my
one
part.
day. I don't know. We'll see. You could take down the internet somehow, but then that screws over everybody. It'll shut the whole world down. Or, and this is a little more insidious and could take some more time, is you can work at Epic and somehow get into a position where you can pitch creative ideas and pitch something that will enrage all the social justice warriors, and that game will get so much heat, and hopefully that'll like knock them down a peg. I don't know if that'll work.
If you remove all female playable characters from Fortnite, then you will create a calamity and a social justice downfall that will destroy humanity, and it will end humanity overall. But as long as Fortnite's not playable, that might be the best option.
I like it. Let's go with that. That's what it is. Next question.
Derek Smith writes, "What kinds of gaming media do you guys consume, like websites, Twitch streamers, YouTubers, podcasts, and any other related people or coverage?"
So for me, I mainly just visit a couple websites. I like being able to read and stuff like that and look at pictures. And if I want to know more, sometimes there's videos there, so I'll watch those or I'll just go to YouTube. But I mainly like read stuff. I'll read on my phone, like when I'm at work and I have nothing to do, or if I go to the bathroom or whatever. I don't really uh, follow anyone in particular. I don't like watching streamers because if I'm gonna watch a game, why wouldn't I just play it? I don't really watch people play games either to get tips. Like I'll go on YouTube and get some tips on stuff if I'm stuck, but I don't know. I don't find streaming of any interest. I don't want to watch
So
that stuff.
so there's no like, what are the publications you read though?
So I read Destructoid, Kotaku, Polygon. I go like I bounce around like GameSpot, IGN. Like I'll read them all just to see. A lot of the time you have to read
Yeah, it's
between the
interesting. I
lines.
haven't. I actually haven't even thought of Destructoid in a long time. But yeah, I used to read them for a little while.
Yeah, it's like I don't have anybody favorite there. I just read the articles and I take it with a grain of salt because sometimes they'll just go off on SJW Crusades or whatever. I don't really read that crap. It's just I want to know about games. I want to know the facts. As a journalist, like I want to know the facts. I want to know when's the game coming, when, or what can I expect with it. What do you guys think of it? And I go to multiple sites to get like a cohesive understanding of what it is instead of just going to one and then being fed whatever their biased opinion is on something.
Yeah, so it's a broader topic for me, a broader subject. where I'm the same way. I mean, I used to read like almost every gaming website I could get a hold of every day for a long time. I stopped reading them once everything became political, and it was far left leaning bullshit all the time. But I've read all of them. For the most part now, I stick to, as far as things I read, I go to GameSpot just because they're a news section. If you just scroll through the news, it's nothing political. It's just giving you facts and PR, things that you need to know. And then beyond that, I read. I scroll through Kotaku Kotaku. I mean, I like a few of the writers there, like Jason Schreier, Kirk Hamilton, even though he's not writing there anymore. And with IGN, I like some of the creators there. But that's a mixed bag because there's so many people. It's a broad organization. And I like, seeing some of the other stuff outside of games, just like random movie and TV things here and there, because that's sort of the direction that all these gaming sites have had to move in, is to cover all kinds of nerd entertainment. But outside of that, I listen to a ton of gaming podcasts every week. Some of them have been here or there for me, but the major one I listened to for a long time was the Giant Bombcast. I listened to DLC, which is a podcast on the 5x5 network. Other stuff. Let's see. Let me go through some of the other podcasts. So sometimes I listen to the IGN Xbox Unlocked podcast. One of my favorite ones is Sacred Symbols from Colin Moriarty, which is one of my favorite people that came from IGN, and he has a huge gaming past going back to the GameFAQs days. I've been following him for years. He was with Kind of Funny for a little while. He moved away from them and did his own thing now, which is Colin's Last Stand, which is Sacred Symbols is a product of that. I listen to the Game Informer podcast because those guys don't get political either. Beyond that, there's a lot of different gaming stuff. Personalities I follow on YouTube. I follow The Quartering. I follow Layman Gaming. I follow Skill Up. I follow. Let's see. There's a lot of different people. I even follow PewDiePie now, even though he's not game related. But I follow a bunch of different stuff and personalities wherever they go. And so there's a lot of stuff out there on YouTube and in podcast form. On Twitch, I don't watch Twitch. I don't care about that kind of stuff. Although I do like Dr. Disrespect, so I feel like he has this old school mentality. His whole premise is being like this like 80s superstar, and he has that whole 80s vibe, and he kind of has this cocky, like disrespectful attitude. I like that, but I don't really watch anyone play games. Every once in a while, I'll watch someone stream a game, but for the most part, I don't partake in that. There's a lot of other stuff I consume here and there. Those are just kind of the highlights, but that's basically what I take in usually on a weekly basis.
Okay. And for our final question, OG Gamer asks, should pineapple be a topping on a pizza? Yes, it should. Yes.
Really? You're one of those guys?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
Oh my God.
Hawaiian pizza.
You're a fucking dumb piece of shit.
Why? It's
You're
good.
a fucking absolute
What's wrong with it?
Maniac.
What's wrong
what the
with
fuck are you doing?
Explain
what
yourself.
Fruits
Let's go.
What other fruits do you put on a fucking pizza?
Tomato.
Tell me.
Tomato.
That's not a fruit.
Tomato's a fucking fruit. It's got seeds in it.
Tomato sauce is the base of a fucking pizza.
No, it's a fruit, though. It's a fruit.
Essential to the product of a fucking pizza. Tomato sauce is the base of a fucking pizza.
You know what?
What are you talking about?
No, forget it. We can't have this discussion.
No, we can't have it. We're having it right now.
No.
Tomatoes. No, tomatoes. What else do you put on a pizza?
Take care.
What else?
Sign off.
Yeah. You fucking loser. You fucking piece of shit. Yeah, quit, bro. Quit. Fucking loser.